русскоязычный рестрим ESA Summer 2021. ESA это значит европейский, спидран-марафон. Марафон проводится не просто так, не без причин. Тут собираются деньги на благотворительность в фонд Save the Children. У меня появилась игра.
А у меня тоже. Тут, в принципе, раннер английский Бен, но он этот самый
Швед.
швед.
It's
Да.
English Ben from the Abyss. I hope you don't mind.
Английский Бен,
It's
английский
quite late.
швед
It's
Бен.
currently 3:30 in the morning here, and people are sleeping. I'm trying to keep my voice a little more ASMR compared to how GTA was. So this will hopefully be a bit more chill. But yeah, I'm very honored that you could join me.
English Ben у нас,
And of course,
да, English
Arco
Ben,
is here.
игра
He
Tony
will be
Hawk
my
с American
the voice,
Wasteland, и
the angelic
категория
voice in
Story
your ears,
Mode,
I'm sure. Are
Тик,
you willing to get this
Сик
going,
это
Arco?
сложность. PC, ну, то есть компьютер, вы понимаете, estimate час 40.
So, one quick thing to mention is that usually when I would do like attempts of this game, I would just start a new story mode. But there's kind of a small problem, and that it would play DMCA music, even though I have all the music turned off. And you know how DMCA is
да.
these days. We don't want to deal with that.
Любимая наша
So
DMC
essentially what's going
Music.
to happen is when I hit
В
continue
общем,
story mode,
он
it's going to put me into like the
будет
first possible
начинать,
place where you
то
can
есть он
save.
не будет
And then we're
начинать
just going to
новый
start
story
from
мод,
there.
он нажмет
So I've had this
continue,
save
насколько
like
я понял, потому что
loaded
там
and ready
играет
to go.
в
And it will be exactly
начале
the same as if I
DMCA
were to start a new
музыка
game.
такая
It's just going to
прикольная.
be without the cutscene at the start.
Но в
But all that
принципе
you
он в
need to know
настройках
is it
отключил
just gives you an
музыку,
intro of the game,
так что
and
все
that
в порядке, кроме
we
начала.
are going to Hollywood as like a rising star of a skateboarder, and someone steals our stuff, and we're not very happy about it. So that's a little
Короче, уже не
disappointing.
совсем
So
легитимный раунд.
if tech is ready, we will hit continue, and then time will start. So
Так,
we'll go 3, 2,
у меня,
1, go.
ребята, я попрошу тех, кто умеет считать,
So,
сказать мне
the only
насчет
other thing that we
задержки,
did
потому что у меня
was we also
7,
changed our
8,
clothes,
9
and it is quite
время.
important
Ну,
the clothes that we
кстати,
have for two
типа
reasons.
я,
Well, I'll just
получается,
do some
быстрее
tutorial
стал.
stuff here. The first one is that we want to make sure that we have no shirt, which might
Потому
sound a bit
что я,
weird, but
типа,
that's
Я на
because
две
later on
впереди.
there is a certain goal where we
У
need
меня
to
сейчас
take our shirt
21,
off to
22,
like fit in
23.
with a group of,
Я
you
на...
know, a group of,
ну смотри, ты мне можешь
skaters.
сразу просто говорить, я где-то
And
на 2
the
секунды, на
other
3
thing is
впереди.
that we don't spend too much money on
Все
our
в
creator
порядке.
skater because
Да,
we need a
короче,
lot
он
of
выбрал
money
просто
for this
этот...
run. And
Ну, то
in
есть тут
sick
он можно
difficulty,
настраивать персонажа,
especially,
он его
we're going to
сделал
be
лысым и без
grinding a lot of
футболки.
money later
Здесь
on.
сейчас происходит просто
So obviously the
туториал
less money
такие.
that we spend now on things that we don't need, such as
Вот это
clothes,
персонаж.
we just keep, you know, the
Ой,
standard cargo
как ее...
shorts and the
Не помню, как
socks.
ее зовут.
Минди.
Then,
Вроде да,
you know, the
Минди,
less
типа
we have to
того.
grind later on, and the faster we'll
Здесь
go,
пока
which is
происходит,
great, because I don't want to keep everyone up
обучение.
until 6 or
Значит,
7 o'clock in
пока
the
вы
morning
определенное обучение не
if you've been
пройдете, вы не
staying up.
можете делать определенные
So
трюки.
these goals here,
Так что...
they're just, it's the classic, like a bunch of
Да.
different local skaters teaching you stuff.
Что такое
It's nice to get
получается?
them out the way
Мы
as soon as
гоняем
possible, because in this
лысого.
game, you're not allowed to do anything
Гоняем
unless you've
лысого.
been taught how to do
Ну,
it.
типа того,
So
в
from the
Голливуде
start, you
причем.
can't like spine transfer, you can't do manuals, you can't do anything like that.
Вот, сейчас
So,
новый трюк, да,
we're going to
можно
meet
было
quite
видеть,
an
он новый
important
трюк
character now,
выучил,
who isn't
научился
really
ему.
relevant to the story
По
technically,
сути,
but
ну,
it's the
как бы,
homeless guy.
типа открытого
There is a
мира,
local homeless guy that is around on every single,
если что.
or most of the levels, and it's kind of
Да.
strange because he's homeless,
Мужик
but
выглядит
he
как
will give us
Citizen
money
с
if we
Half-Life.
complete certain skate challenges.
Как
So as you
кто?
can see there, I did a
Как
couple
мужик
of
из
tricks for him,
Half-Life.
and he gave me $25. So
Какой?
he is the main
А,
source
я
of
понял,
income
все.
in this game.
Не,
And
ну
as I say,
ты
we're going
че...
to need a lot of money later on.
Ты так не жести.
Because in order to unlock certain sections of the map, you need to pay money. And usually in easy mode,
Тик,
you would get
насколько,
enough money
если
just
я
from
правильно
doing
помню, вроде
graffiti,
самая сложная,
which is like something else that we'll be
сложность.
touching on in a brief moment. But that's not enough in Sick. So unfortunately, the next homeless guy, ideally I would want to get 2 in Hollywood before we move on. But unfortunately, as you can see on the map at the top, he is all the way over there. So we're not going to
Да,
bother
вот
because that's like the worst
сверху
spawn, so
можно
we'll just
увидеть
get a better one later on.
такую, это, ну, как
So
карта,
here's
не знаю,
Joe
что-то
Skater. He's
похожее
the guy who
в
stole our stuff,
Fallout, наверное,
and
в
we're
принципе,
gonna
могли
just
видеть в
sit here for
Нью-Вегасе,
about a
например.
minute.
Я думаю, уже понимаете, как
And
она
not really
работает.
compete against him. We just need to beat his score. But if we don't do anything,
А
then he
вот
doesn't really do
откуда
anything.
это взяли.
So a lot of the kind of skate
Да,
competitions in
понимаешь?
this game are like, if you get 1,000,000 points, they will get 1,000,000 points. So I'm gonna not get 1,000,000 points. I'm just gonna, you know, grind a bit and just do some
В
seemingly
общем,
meaningless tasks. But what I'm actually doing is I'm increasing my stats, and stats are also super important. So if you were paying attention when we were talking to Mindy earlier, who is our little skate punk friend
Качаем
over there,
статы.
she
Да,
was talking about the
качаем
fact
статы,
that
причем
you
прикол в том,
can
что
every
вот
single
тут
day
чувак
there will be different
катается,
stat
если мы
challenges that
сами
you can
ничего не
do,
делаем, он
and that
ничего особо
makes your
тоже делать не
skater
будет, поэтому,
better, right? Like it makes him
ну,
faster,
все,
it
что
makes
мы
him
здесь
flip
делаем, это
quicker,
качаем статы, хотя
and
мы должны
everything like
где-то
that.
миллион поинтов вроде
And that's super
накопить.
important in SICK as well, because obviously
Или
we're
типа
going to go
того.
super slow. The main differences in SICK is that your stats are really bad, so you're not a very
Да,
good
значит,
skater, basically. Like,
категория вот эта
usually you would
SIC,
be
значит то, что у
superhuman
нас
when you're playing Tony
вся
Hawk and you can do
стата,
backflips
ну,
and
персонажа, она
whatever,
в
but we won't
ужасном
be able to just
состоянии,
do
поэтому,
backflips
короче,
on flat ground.
ужасный кейтер.
So yeah, it's really important that we get as many stats as
Так
possible
что
and as
нам
much
нужно
money as
больше
possible.
гриндить
So
статы
as you can
и
see
все
there, we
такое,
speak to a guy called
все, что с
Mutin.
этим
We're speaking
связано.
to him again now. And he basically wants us to throw up like graffiti in certain places, and we need to do that 3 different times on every single map.
Граффити
So
мацаем.
it does give us money,
Мгм.
as you can see. It gives us $20 here, but we're not technically doing it for the
Easy
money
money.
because the hobo would be more efficient. But we actually need to do it for the story. So later on, there will be a section where we actually have to like go around and do all of Mutin's challenges in order to impress another set of people later on. You'll notice that's a running trend in this game. So we're going to leave Mutin here for now. We'll come back to him, even though we've only done 2 out of 3. That's okay.
Где он
But
там
yeah, so
несколько
we need
комбу.
to unlock like all the different tagging styles, which we do
Ну, и
by
поехали
completing
на
all of
автобусе,
Mutin's
ну, типа с
missions.
помощью автобуса
So
мы
yeah,
перемещаемся
a
между
lot of
определенными,
information to take in because this game is
ну, как
quite
сказать,
non-linear,
перемещаемся
even though
между
it may
участками
seem
карты.
it may seem linear, but it really isn't, especially on
Ну,
sick
в принципе,
difficulty.
делаем все обучающие штуки, которые
So
Ну
для
да,
we're gonna
красим
продвижения
complete the
воздух,
short
персонажа.
range
например.
challenge, and then we
Да, это
get into
какой-то
because
Том
Mindy's gonna
Сойер на
introduce us to
максималке.
another set of skaters, and they're gonna teach
Ну
us
ты...
a bunch of different
Ну
stuff as well.
ладно,
It's
соглашусь,
basically a lot
не
of
буду
tutorials.
спорить.
So in the meantime, while these
Так
guys
что
are
да.
flexing their different tricks, I suppose it's probably best to talk about like what sick difficulty actually entails. So I mentioned before about how
Жесть, он взлетел, конечно.
like you
Ого.
are less talented as a skater when you're playing
Выглядело
on sick,
реалистично.
but also like the actual gameplay is quite different too. So as I mentioned before, we need money for a lot of stuff later on, and things are much more expensive on sick difficulty, which is why you'll see
Да,
a lot more
значит,
money grinding.
к тому
But
же
also,
на сложности
we have
SIG
to
не
complete
только нам
every
нужно
single story
больше
goal in order to
гриндить
progress to the next section.
статистику, ну,
And that isn't a thing
статистику
on
статы
easy or
просто
normal, which are the other 2 difficulties.
персонажа.
So this
Нам
is
нужно
also kind
гриндить
of like a
больше денег, потому что
100%
все
run.
стоит
It's
дороже.
technically not 100% because we don't get like all of the collectible gaps and whatnot, but it's pretty close. And I would say, completing
А ты так
all of the
можешь сделать, вот
missions,
как
the
только что
goals on
мудрый
the
сделал?
hardest difficulty is,
Вот
it's
последний этап,
pretty close to 100%. You've
повернулась
pretty much done
штучка.
all the game has to offer in terms
Последний
of the
этап
story
это
mode.
повернуться, типа, или
Это,
просто прокатиться?
это где он летит в воздухе, и у него разворачивается
In
доска.
terms of lore, this section is just like
Это
Я
нереально.
вот
but
первый момент,
these
когда он бежит, могу
people that
сделать, и
you'll be
последний.
meeting, Murphy,
Ну
Yusuf,
ладно, не, в
Dave,
принципе,
and
все
Boom,
могу сделать,
they're
если
like
надо будет
recurring
покажу.
characters through
Но ты
the
скажи,
entire
когда
thing.
встретиться надо, и я покажу.
And they'll be, helping us on our
Я
quest to
могу
become the
влететь в
big dog
стену,
in town.
но я не
So
Не, ну
the
такие
first kind
вещи,
of
конечно,
section
не
of the
стоят.
story, once we've impressed these guys, is
Повторять
all
дома.
about the skate ranch, which is just over there to my right.
Ну,
And the skate
наверное, не
ranch
знаю.
is like
Может,
basically
кому-то
a
и
place where
нравится
these
такое,
guys
но...
have just been hanging out. But then Mindy has the idea to turn it into like an entirely new skate park. And it's actually quite funny because then the game basically devolves into like vandalism.
Пошли тейл-грабы.
So, like in the mid game will be
И манипуляции гравитацией, судя по тому, как он повернулся в воздухе.
around the map, like maybe a bell tower or a fountain or something like that, and we'll be taking it for the ranch. But
Да,
obviously,
часть вообще игры
is we're just
это,
destroying
ну, то есть,
property and stealing.
как сказать,
So,
симулятор
it's very bizarre.
этого
This game is very morally ambiguous,
вандала.
to say the least.
Мы, ну, как вы уже видели, мы тут
So for now,
разрисовываем,
we're just learning some
раскрашиваем
more
стены
transfer stuff. If you
и тому
noticed,
подобное.
when I'm about to finish a goal, you'll get a
Я бы сказал, симулятор бунтовщика.
and go, yes, I've learned all this
Бунтаря,
stuff.
да?
Cool, awesome. what you can do is you
Ого,
can chain your
вот это
combo
сейчас было,
into
конечно,
another
неплохо.
cutscene, and then you can just like mash all the way through them while you're in a cutscene, so you don't have to stop and accept every single one of them.
Ничего себе,
Мне
нормальный
интересно, только
чел.
как это
It's especially
связано
important
с
for this one
скейтбордами,
because you
но...
learn a lot of stuff here because this French
А,
guy
ну хотя
teaches
тем,
you
что он в руке его
parkour.
держит, я думаю.
And you know, as you can see, there's a lot of different stuff. There's shimmying, there's wall
Это
running,
типа...
there's doing flips off walls, and there's all
Это... Как
sorts of
сказать?
really interesting stuff,
Эта
to
игра,
say the least.
это
I'm
отец
also keeping an eye
или
on where the
мать
hobo is.
Mirror's Edge, получается?
He seems to be in a decent location. He's near Murphy, so we
Ну,
should be able to
конечно,
ping him there.
Рафик
As I said,
вообще
it's very
такие
important that
триксы
I
делает.
get at least a minimum of 2
Хм,
hobo
Тупо
like missions
мужичок
completed before
вышел
the
из такси и
kind of
начал
early game finishes, because we need to purchase our first piece of the
А
skate park,
сейчас был
and
очень,
it's going to cost us, I think,
очень крутой
$150.
прыжок.
And if we don't do 2 bum goals, then we won't have enough money. So as you can see, now I've chained it through. I can mash all the way
Ну,
through this while
о,
still being in the cutscene.
Это
It's
было
unfortunate
круто.
these cutscenes are unskippable, but it's just the way it is. So after we've completed this goal, you'll be seeing
хорошая
something
игра.
called
Мне
box
кажется, это
swapping,
лучшая игра
which
от Тома
is
Квенти.
something that I've made like a submission video before in the intermissions in previous years.
Ну
And
да, в
essentially what it is
принципе,
it's from the like the Tony Hawk's
похоже.
Pro Skater Online community. And it
Лучший
allows you to
момент
get
игры
a
это
nice
вот
amount of
этот,
height, whereas you
когда ты
usually wouldn't be able
крутишься,
to. So as you can see there, it allows me to jump
это
here,
самое
jump up
крутое.
here, whereas I usually wouldn't be able to
Собственно, мы
just easily
помогаем
up there because
раскрасить
I'm, you know,
стену.
I'm a newbie skater, and even a pro skater wouldn't be able to get that kind of height.
Как бы
And essentially the way it
не
works is
советую
that
таким
you
заниматься на
drop off a
улице,
ledge,
конечно,
like you
но...
don't ollie off a ledge, you just drop off it.
Ну хотя если
And then
вы
you do a
скейтер,
flip
то вам
trick,
можно, особенно если вы
and
Тони Хоук, вам
as
можно.
you do the flip
Особенно
trick,
если
you just
вы
mash A
в
or
игре,
whatever your like
которая
jump
называется
button
Тони
is.
Хоук's American
And if you
Wasteland,
mash
можно.
like fast enough,
Да, но если
accurately
вы
enough,
самокатчик, вам
then you will be able to get like several jumps worth of height
Я
instead of
могу
just
много
one.
что сказать
So
насчет
it allows you
самокатчиков,
to,
но
you
я
know,
лучше
get
не
to places
буду.
where you wouldn't usually be able to get,
Так
or you know, make
что
some goals quite a bit easier, especially on sick. So
большая
we're going to pick
часть,
up these stat
точнее,
challenges here on the way to
большая
Murphy.
часть
The one that's important is the
моего
manually
диалога
for
будет
6
утеряна
seconds.
из-за этого.
Another difference, as I mentioned before about sick difficulty, is it is very difficult to balance.
ого,
So as you can see, we have the
Да,
balance meter here, and even
балансируем.
manualing for
пару
6
раз уже
seconds there
видели,
wasn't
там
particularly easy.
такой,
So
как-то,
I actually forgot
две
gold here.
стрелочки такие, это,
That's fine, we'll
короче,
go back and grab it. What you would
балансировка
usually do is
персонажа,
talk to
грубо
this
говоря.
guy as soon as getting the stat challenges. Here he is. Poor guy. I just left him in the dust. I was like, why is Murphy not spawning? But now I have my answer. So he just teaches you
Ну,
about bone
распруга
ollies.
какая-то
It's
уже
completely
пошла.
fine. And then we're also going to pay a visit to the hobo because he's in a decent location as well. He's just up here.
Набираем.
Hopefully he doesn't give me anything too awful, because what the hobo can give you is completely random in terms of, as you can see, we've got gaps here. Gaps is fine. Let me think of where gaps are. It's difficult to remember on every
Получаем
single map
задание
where
от
gaps are,
бомжа.
but basically gaps are just like feats of skateboarding that you can do. So that rail hop
Так,
was a
секунду, я
gap.
сейчас
And there is also a gap here to do a vert transfer across this. And there we go. That's the money.
Так, нам надо
And
сделать
now
два
we can see
мува.
Murphy.
Ну и
So yeah,
выполняем
it's
эту миссию.
also
Морган
possible,
Фриман
as you can see,
доволен.
like so far, the hobo has given me $25
И
every
теперь
single
нас
time I've
учат
done something.
очередным
The
трюком.
way it's supposed to work is that once you do more and more of any certain like trick for him, then he'll start giving
Ребята,
you more
не
complicated versions, and he'll
повторяйте
start
это
paying you
дома,
$50
иначе вы
or
сядете жопой
$75
на
respectively. But he
забор.
always starts off at like, you know, starts off easy, as he says. And he'll always give you $25. But for some odd reason, because
И
this
сейчас
game is
Изи выполняли миссию от бомжа.
kind of buggy, you can
Тут очень
sometimes
много
just get
гринда.
$50 anyway, and you can just skip, you know, having to complete the
Так,
intermediate
все
challenges.
вот это вот
And
выполняем,
that saves an
повторяем.
awful lot of time in this, and it's,
Ну и уже
as far
какое-то
as we
комбо
know,
пошло.
completely random. So it's slightly
Туда-сюда
unfortunate.
это самое. Так и не
I have
заходит.
tried before to like look into whether it's like new game plus
И
based.
оу-оу.
So, you know, if you leave the game running too long, it might like carry over between playthroughs. But even with like a fresh game start, it can still happen. It's just an unfortunate bug. So this is the final one in terms of the kind of basic tutorials where we learn all these things. We do a spine transfer nose grab front flip, which is obviously not something that an amateur skateboarder would ever be able to pull off, but you know, we're the best, so we can pull it off just fine. And now
То есть самокат это ворус
we've impressed
1.1 версии
our group
пытаюсь
of
найти.
companions here.
Нет никакой
So now we've got
1.1
access to the
версии.
skate ranch.
Нет. 1.1 версии не существует.
Так.
This is where, as I say, the
Кстати,
game kind
слушай,
of transitioned
я забыл
into,
сказать одну вещь.
you know,
Я думаю, это
demolishing
важная
property for the
вещь.
sake of the skate ranch, and it will be like that for quite
Ребята,
a while,
кто уснет на
until we get into
Тони
downtown.
Хоке, у того
Downtown is
отберут
a
все
really
баллы канала.
strange segment,
Так
but
что
I
будьте
won't go into that
осторожны.
just now because we've got some more strange segments to come up with.
Но,
Our first
если
goal
честно,
here
такое,
is that we
вряд
have
ли
to
такое у
sketch,
кого-то
which we would
произойдет,
usually
потому
do
что
with
на
a
этом
car
ране
where you like
невозможно
hang onto the
уснуть.
bumper, but we're sketching Murphy's
Да,
dog.
мы тут
Yeah, like
прицепились к
very
собаке.
bizarre animations. I was looking too much
Какой?
there that I actually
Да,
fell.
вот к этой собаке, да.
And, we need to go and get some wood for the half
Ну,
pipe.
в
That
принципе,
Iggy is working on.
реалистично.
Iggy is like the head honcho.
Ну, а как,
He
как
used to be a professional skater.
к marшрутке
Dropped out of like
прицепились,
the
только к
limelight because he
собаке.
didn't really like the public attention.
А у
anymore.
тебя что, никогда такого не было?
That may not
Маршрутные
sound like, you
собаки?
know, particularly relevant
Ну, типа
information
того.
because who really cares about the
Окей.
backstories of random characters in Tony Hawk? But it actually does play big into the plot later on.
Обычно ко мне
So,
цепляются и едут.
yeah. And also, shout out to Neversoft there for
То есть
making
ты
me
и меня
already part
покатать
of
можешь,
this
получается?
unskippable segment
Ой, я
where they
всех
make a wood joke
покатил.
because, haha, you know, I won't explain that one for the masses
Хорошо,
back
это
home.
круто.
But yeah, so the rest of
Забились.
this is just sketching along and taking Sanchez along for the ride. So, Arco, if
Вези
you've
меня,
got anything to read
собачечка,
for me, now
вези.
would be a perfect time, sir.
Здесь
We
сколько
do have
очков
a
просто
donation with $100
получается.
from Homeless Guy NPC
Да,
saying,
Зафармленный.
"Way to go.
собака нас
Here's some
просто
cash. Find me later to
провозит,
do more
так
challenges. I
сказать.
hope you
Попросил
continue having
друга
fun, Ben.
в
Thank you very much.
ММОхе
Big
прокачать.
donation."
Thank you, yeah, awesome. I do wish I
И
could
он
get
нас
some nice
ведет по всем
$100
данжам,
from the
убивает.
homeless guy. That would save me a lot of time, but you know, I think the game would need to be way
Так, у
more
меня
busted for that.
странные
So, as you can see
топ-кадры
here,
в плеере.
I'm going to be like wall
Так,
riding along these walls, and that's because it's like
У
the
меня
only
один
way
раз
to get any
лагнуло и
kind of
вроде
boost of speed here.
м?
In
один
these
раз лагнуло и вроде
transitions,
нормально.
Не, это
like
в
Tony
плеере русская. Я
Hawk's, like
просто иногда в чат
what they
поглядываю, уже,
wanted to
знаешь.
do for this game was they wanted to create like a
Имею
fully,
проблему такую.
I'm not sure what you call it, but like a fully open world that doesn't have loading screens. So as you can see here, as you go through the skate park, there is no
общем,
loading screen between levels.
И
It's just,
мысль, которая у меня
you know, a
была,
place that you can
кстати,
skate, which sounds good.
я не
But
понимаю,
they
почему
also just cap
стримлинг
your
у меня
speed. So all you can do is like
не
slowly
может,
skate
типа,
through them, and they're not
ускориться
particularly
быстрее,
interesting,
чем
you know, transitions anyway.
стрим на
So
Твиче.
personally, I would have rather just had a loading
Ну,
screen. But
оригинальный.
you know,
Это странно.
Там,
Никогда такого не
по-моему,
было.
нужен
so we
параметр,
finally meet
короче,
the legendary Iggy Van
стримлинка.
Zandt, and he teaches us Burt
У
slides, which
тебя
are
через этот
completely
самый,
useless,
ну, у тебя
and
гуишная
we don't even
версия
properly do
или
them because, as you can
что
see
это
there,
Да,
it's
за...
much easier to just
да,
hold the
гуи.
button and then do
Там
it in
вроде
one
есть
second rather than
настройка
actually
параметров,
slide across.
типа
I don't know why
без
that's the thing that he
задержки или
teaches
типа
us,
того.
but I guess it's
Но у
just,
меня
you know,
всегда все нормально
we already know how
работало.
to do all the cool
А
stuff.
сейчас
So I guess
я
Neversoft is
как-то...
like, yo, we need to teach, you know, we need to
Меня
implement a new
как-то
mechanic that the players have never
стримлинг
seen before.
огорчил. Ну, собственно, 2 секунды
So we've
впереди
now
мне
built the
хватит.
half pipe.
Так что
That's
да.
the first like piece of the puzzle. And then this is where the first money section comes in, because we need to buy the dinosaur head that we knocked down all the way
Так,
back
в
in Hollywood.
общем-то, что здесь сейчас
And
будет?
there is going to be a construction worker called
Мы
Joey,
будем
who has
покупать
taken ownership to it, and
голову
he said he'll only
динозавра.
deliver it to us
Это
if we pay
круто.
him a lot of money. So that's what we'll be doing. Because thankfully we do have quite a bit of money.
И у нас, в
All
принципе, и
thanks to the
денег-то
homeless
есть
guy.
нормально.
Ну да, да.
So, very nice homeless guy.
А теперь у нас еще
So,
и своя тачка есть, между
as
прочим.
you can remember, we left Mr. Mooton. This is where we'll be doing it. It's just
Зачем
slightly
нам
more
тогда
efficient because it's
скейтборд?
just on the way to the dino head guy.
Ну, на тачке
Yeah.
ты не можешь такие трюки делать, особенно ты не можешь
And then he'll
красить
tell us how much
воздух
money we
уже в
have.
который
It's
раз.
315, which is more
Я
than
думаю,
enough.
в мире, где можно делать такие
Then we
трюки
can talk to
можно
Joey.
делать и на тачке.
And he says, you know,
Вот,
he's always
вот
only
мы
gonna
вот
give it
эту
to us,
вот
so we require
голову динозавра
$300.
купим, мы
We have
купили.
315, which is perfect.
Так он уже
And
лысый, ему
then
только
every time
семья
you pick
нужна,
up
и
a
он
skate
будет
ranch
трюки на
piece, you
тачках
can
делать.
actually, as you saw there, it gives you
Ну
an option to go back
ты
to
что-то
skate ranch.
разогнался
So that
как-то.
essentially becomes fast travel,
Насчет
or at least a
того,
method
что
of fast
персонаж
travel.
лысый.
And you can also use either the bus or this car at the
В
skate park
принципе,
to go to different
можно сказать,
places.
что он скоро
You
на,
can see we're going back to Beverly Hills now.
на съемке больших
You know,
гонок
to
поедет.
speak to Murphy. And it's very
Но
important that I do this goal in a certain way, because
мало
if you
кто
manage to
поймет.
skip this cutscene that I'm about to go into, the game will crash,
Немногие
which is
вспомнят.
not good, but
Да.
I'm gonna make sure I only press the button once, because I would not like the game to crash. The game
Жесть, у
has
нас нету
potential to
команды
crash later on.
комментаторы, как так
I will do
произошло.
my best to avoid it, and I will play as safe as possible.
А,
And I do have
комментаторов
safety
убрали.
saves for every segment, just in case.
Вообще убрали?
Нас тоже
ну всех
уберут.
уволили уже?
Нас после комментирования в
The most
пластиковый
stable thing in
пакет.
the world.
Да,
So this
как
is
тебя
where we
могут
go
убрать, если
into
ты
the first
хост?
section of Beverly Hills, and we
У
just,
меня иммунитет.
you know, we do tricks on certain things, and
Не,
we break certain
я
things, and
я
then
с
we're
тобой
able
уже
to
типа
steal the
подружился, все
property because
нормально.
that's how the
Меня
world
то, что
Это
не
была
получилось.
недолгая
works.
дружба.
Please don't care.
Сейчас,
So this
вот
first one
это
is just an awning, and you
быстро
just need to,
произошло,
you know,
и
call out the
дружба, и
tricks and
предательство
do it. I'm
очень...
not sure who's calling out the tricks. It's not really relevant.
э,
It's just until
Ага,
25
прости,
seconds on
но
the
ты в
clock.
сделку не входил.
So you can actually go on to different
Жесть.
pieces. You can see there I was grinding the rail instead of the awning. As long as you
Зря
keep
я
it all in
сюда
one combo,
приходил,
it's fine.
конечно.
And then here's Dave, and we're gonna steal a statue. We can order the buck slap here, just to quickly get up here instead of having
Нет,
to climb
все-таки
up the
люди
ladder.
поняли
It's a very
мою
minor thing.
шутку.
And then we need to grab the
Я
key.
счастлив.
Apparently the key to the door
Спасибо.
is inside.
Один
It's just
человек,
chilling
который
in
понял.
midair.
Собственно,
And then we can unlock the gate for Dave.
у нас...
And then I think we
Как,
like
ну, то
tie
есть,
a
да,
rope
в
around
прошлый
it.
раз,
Yeah, it
точнее
looks
как,
like it.
несколько минут
And we
назад
like
мы уже
winch it.
купили
And
голову
then we're just
динозавра,
gonna
которую мы
steal it,
скинули в
because that's what
Голливуде, то
skaters
есть
do
скинули на
apparently,
землю.
is they commit petty theft.
Нормально
But
крутится.
as you'll see later on, the antics that we get up
Ну,
to
неплохо, в
get more
принципе,
and more silly.
сойдет.
So this homeless guy is slightly out of the way, but because obviously it's a marathon, I don't want to have to reset. So I'm more than happy to just go
Бен,
slightly out
походу,
of the
просто
way.
игрой наслаждается.
And there's also one here, which is
Не
perfect.
очень
А мы,
We're
чтобы
also
не
gonna grab
наслаждаемся
stats
игрой
here in a
потом.
second. Well, one to
Да.
six stat challenge. So
Наслаждаемся,
this is
конечно,
going to be
как
a
и все,
$50
кто в
challenge, which
чате
is
находится.
perfect, as you can see, because of the fact that it's a big combo. So we got $50 there.
Просто
Whereas
такой
Даже в чате не
расслаблон
пишут.
a bit of
происходит.
time, but we got lucky. So the thing we needed here is the hold a lip trip for 3 seconds. We're not actually going to do a lip
Кстати,
trick
по
just yet.
громкости
We're gonna
со
wait
мной
until
все
we go
нормально,
into
я
Hollywood,
надеюсь. Ну так, на всякий случай, а
because
то
it's
вдруг
gonna be right
меня
now. So
очень
here
плохо слышно было.
we
У меня на
we
200,
mash
я больше
ollie
ничего не буду
to
делать.
Жесть,
pull
как это
down
так.
an entire roof just by kicking our
Это
skateboard
очень
and using
странно.
our
Я,
strength,
ну, в
which
принципе,
makes
знаешь, я
absolutely
могу
zero
ради
sense,
прикола
but
еще
don't worry about
громче
it.
себе сделать.
Мне
And then we
говорят,
Себя
just
на
что
рекордере, и ты
we're entirely
погибнешь.
done with Beverly Hills now,
пусть
so we
говорят,
can
все
just go straight
нормально.
to Hollywood. And
Сейчас
there
я
is a
прочитаю
convenient
сам.
ramp here that
Окей,
we can
все,
just
огонь,
hold a
прям,
lip trick on for
окей.
a couple of
Все
seconds.
хорошо.
And
Хорошо.
it may seem slow because we're not really progressing in terms of the story
Так,
while we're doing this, but getting lip trick up is super important. It makes a huge difference. And the reason why we do it there is because, as you see, we also got a 40,000 point challenge in, trying to
да, у
speak
нас, в
different
общем,
combos at the same
челлендж
time.
на 40 тысяч
О,
поинтов есть, если что,
провалил.
These
если
are also really important, the
У
40,000
него
point ones,
17
because they
тысяч
give us
поинтов
plus
было,
speed.
он влетел в стену.
Plus speed is how fast you
А
go.
теперь
это
хопа.
все
So obviously for a
запланировано,
speedrun,
не
traveling
переживай.
fast is
О,
obviously
все посчитано.
given.
Да.
And the other one, the lip trick, is how well you balance while doing a lip trick.
Вот,
So
зацени,
I
как
would
он
like to get as much lip balance as possible,
может.
purely because there is one goal later on that's the hardest goal in
И
the
он
game.
потом еще может
But when you
пропадать,
have better stats, it becomes much
когда
easier. It's
приземлится
definitely not easy by any means, but it
грузовик,
becomes
как не знаю, в пикап.
not impossible, I would say. There are some goals later on in the
Ну,
game
как
that
известно,
have to
пикапы
be kind of
диспаунят
cheesed on sick difficulty
которые
based on
Ну,
stats,
ну
because
да, в
obviously, like,
принципе,
they
это
intended for
давно
you to have
известная
basically
вещь.
особенно,
maximum
когда
stats by the
пикап
end
на
of the game,
скорости
because you'll
летает.
be,
Там,
going to the different stat
больше не
points. It's,
появляется в
it's not
жизни.
built for speedrunners.
Ломаем вот
So
эту
this
вот
next section is just building towards a
Вывеску.
quicker
как-то
time trial, but
рекламную
obviously since
вывеску,
we're
не
on
знаю.
sick and we've got to complete all the skate ranch pieces, then we're just grabbing them all on the way.
Крутой
But
момент.
ultimately, the only one mission that matters is the one
Крутящий,
where
я бы
we're gonna
сказал.
go and speak to a dude.
Я не
What's his
ожидал
name?
такого,
He's called like Mr. Dean or
что
something.
такое
You
скажешь,
know, really,
но неплохо.
really ambiguous, very mysterious.
Потом, в общем-то,
And
пикап увозит
he
эту
tells us that
рекламную
he
вывеску.
can
Что с
get
ней
us
будет
access
потом,
into downtown,
как бы
but the
секрет,
cops have
я вам не
seized
скажу.
or are like parked near his belongings. And it turns out his belongings is actually a rocket launcher. So he's like a terrorist or something. I don't know if they
В
ever
общем,
explain exactly
у одного
what's,
из чуваков
going on
здесь
there.
в вещах
But we
есть
help him because, you know,
гранатомет.
we're a skateboarder, so we commit crimes. And
Никто не
yeah,
знает,
so
почему,
once we've done these last couple of skate
откуда
ranch
он у него
sections,
там, но
we're gonna let him blow
как
up the
бы и
entrance
даже
to
разработчики
downtown,
не
like the
объясняют
little
вроде почему.
tunnel.
Ну, в этой игре можно, в мире этой игры можно легально получить гранатомет. Просто нужна лицензия и...
В смысле? А я что, нелегально получил, получается? Жесть. Ладно. В общем, не будем об этом. У нас продолжается скейтбординг.
But then the second part will be gaining access to the
Вот
AmJam,
это
which
да.
is like an amateur skateboarding competition that we obviously want to win because, you know,
Хорошее круглое здание.
and also, you know, fame and glory.
Обязательно надо вокруг
So this is
него
the guy
покататься.
who blows up the
И
entrance to
прыгнуть
downtown.
на
We,
машину полицейских, из-за
we
чего
set
она
fire to that police
загорается.
car, and
Потому
he
что,
blows it up, and it's just...
как известно...
Потому
It kind of
что
makes me
раннер
wish that the
огонь.
cutscene wasn't skippable.
Да, как известно, раннер огонь.
Because, you know,
English
it's
Band,
very
между
silly
прочим.
how this all plays out, how we get access to downtown. But when you skip the cutscenes, it looks much more innocent. So yeah, so we'll be grabbing some more skate ranch pieces, but we also want to
Подземный
unlock
переход без людей.
access to the AmJam.
Как известно,
And
все,
apparently
кто
the number one
узнал,
way to
что
get ready
English
for a
Band
skate
сейчас будет
competition
кататься по городу,
is to
забежали к
find
себе в
like a
дома.
Zen master and have him teach you how
Да
to
гномы давно
like
вымерли.
focus
Они больше не
your
живут в
adrenaline
подземельях.
and your abilities and whatnot. Thankfully, though, he does teach us a really important
А вот и,
thing, which
кстати,
is really
поездка
important
за
for the run,
машиной.
which is how to use your special meter.
Да,
So if
не
you'll see at the
повторяйте
top
такое,
left
как
where I have like
говорится,
a score,
дома.
just below that, very soon there's going to be a
Это
special
вот
meter.
то, чем
And
занимались
if you're
дети,
familiar
пока
with
у них
Tony
не было
Hawk's, it
компьютера.
works the exact same way as before.
Вот именно.
Where once you fill it up by doing tricks, you can then
И опять мы
И
увозим
essentially do like
часть города,
you
так
know,
постепенно
special
мы
tricks
весь
that you
город
unlock where it's
разберем
like, you know,
и
you do
увезем
like
к
a little
себе.
Mortal Kombat combination of buttons, and you can do really cool tricks
Это
that
как
look
раз
really
и
cool
есть
and also give you a
твист
lot of
игры.
points.
Если что.
So I'll touch on that later.
Так.
Really quick, one thing I want to mention is obviously I'm playing this on PC, but I'm playing it with the controller. And as you can see on the left, the button prompts are always talking about letters, which don't really make too much sense.
Раннер играет на компьютере, но с помощью геймпада, если что.
Wall plant this, kick this into
Мы
the
можем
tree,
видеть,
don't
что
worry
в
about it.
подсказках,
It
короче,
magically lands safely at the skate
какие-то
park somehow.
символы,
But yeah, they do have
которые не имеют
rhythm to them
никакого
if
смысла.
you know what you're looking for. So it's between K, R, and G. And K is kick, so it's like, you know, flip tricks like kick flipping and whatnot. Rail, and then, whoops, I grabbed too late there, so I wasn't able to bank. So it's rail, which is to grind, and then grab, which is, you know, just to do grab tricks. So it's B for me on my Xbox controller. So once you kind of learn the code, it's pretty easy to know what they want you to do. But obviously, it would be much nicer if they just used your controller. But you know, this is quite an old game, so can't be too harsh on them. Here is Master Zen. He's going to teach us how to destroy a tower with
В общем, сейчас нас научат
it's you know,
очень интересным вещам.
like a Zen master is by doing that and headbutting the
Вот это настоящая
headbutting the green tower back to the skate ranch.
Да.
I'm you know, if you're looking for logic and consistency in this game, you're going to have a really bad time. So manual for 5 seconds, this is fine. More homeless guy stuff. As I mentioned before, this is very non-linear, so there's no particular path, because what the hobo gives you in terms of challenges is random, but also his spawns are random.
В общем,
So there's like, you know, certain, maybe like 7 or 8 locations he can
мужчина
spawn
без
in
определенного
around the map.
места жительства
Sometimes he cannot spawn in at all, which is very annoying.
дает нам некоторые
And sometimes
миссии,
he can
вот,
spawn
и
in, but you
он
can't talk to him for some reason, and you have to reload the area, which is also
сам
very annoying.
появляется в рандомных местах.
So
И
basically,
некоторые миссии
all
включают
you
в
need
себя
to do is
рандом.
just keep an eye out
Да и
for him,
сами
and
миссии
whenever he's in
рандомные,
a
да.
convenient location, you just go and speak to him until you have enough money. So before we complete the AmJam, we will make sure that we do a lot of consistent money grinding with the BMX guy. There is a guy who teaches you how to do BMX tricks. And he will
Как вы
also,
видели
he will
только
give you
что в игре
$20
много
for every single one that you do.
моментов
And also they're
вандализма,
very short,
которые
so
мы,
it's very
конечно,
quick money.
не одобряем.
But we can only do it for a certain
Немотивированный
enough,
вандализм
like,
получается.
time,
Да.
like while they're still convenient to do. So we'll make a good use of that, and we'll make a good few $100s out of him once we get there. And for the same reason that we need to do all the tagging stuff later on to impress a group called the Black Widows,
Там
we also need to learn how to
100
ride
баксов
BMX.
задонатил
So
в
we need to
Кумулес
do his
Гаем.
goals eventually anyway, or at least a couple of them. So
Откуда у него
it
столько
kind of
денег?
all adds up
Я не
and
знаю,
works out in the end.
кстати, это хороший вопрос. Может, он
So here
продал
you don't
просто
actually need to do
этот
3 different
скейтборд
stalls. You can just do. I
главного
keep
героя.
just grinding for some reason. There we go. And then you can just do 2 different
Осуждаю.
variations like that. And then I tried to drop off, but
Хотя на самом деле у этого главного героя,
and then we're gonna
как
stall above the highway
говорится,
sign, and
вот
then
этому
magically this unlocks the
скакуну
final
надо
level,
скакалку
which is where we're gonna
отобрать.
get the special meter.
А
So
я, между
the reason
прочим,
why the special meter
не
is so
осуждаю, я
important,
одобряю, потому что
even though
деньги-то идут
special
в
tricks aren't really relevant to us, they don't do anything in terms of speed.
благотворительную организацию Save the Children.
But there are two, I suppose 3 ways to like make yourself go as fast as possible in terms of movement. The first one we've already mentioned, which is to do stat challenges that increase your speed on flat ground. The other one is that you make sure that you always ride in regular stance instead of switch. So, you know, if your left foot is facing forward, if that's your regular stance, then always make sure that you're in regular stance. But the final one is to have a full
Финансовый
special
рубеж
meter.
они
So whenever you have
пытаются
a full
сейчас
special meter like I do now,
обойти
you just
ESA
move faster.
2013 по количеству
So
доната.
yeah, it's very important from now on
ESA
that we're always going to make sure that
2013,
we're in
о, как
regular
давно это
stance,
было.
that we have as many good stats as possible, and also that we're always in special. I'm not sure why that didn't count, but that's okay. We can
Так,
do it again.
не
Not
тот
the first
стрим
time in
начал
this game
смотреть.
that goals just don't count. There are certain pro challenges later on that are legitimately a coin
С
flip
банями
if they work
стрим.
or not.
Бассейн,
So that's very fun.
стрим с
We'll get
бассейнами
into those
открыл.
later on. Don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves.
Не важно, не
So,
важно.
we have now officially unlocked the entrance to the M Jam. Now we've completed all the downtown stuff, which is here.
Ну, может быть. Не буду вдаваться в подробности.
We are going to complete the BMX challenges. The reason we do them here, even though technically we can do them anywhere, is simply because the Van skate park is a very small area because you just do the M
Да,
Jam
значит,
here,
сейчас
and
мы
that's it.
научимся
So it means that
кататься
his
на
locations
BMX.
are,
Мы
между
выбросили
he spawns in
скейт.
the same way that the hobo does,
Вот.
which is, you know,
Выбросил свой
random
скейт.
fixed locations.
Да, вот так
But
это
there's only like
много
4 or
когда
5
происходит
locations around the map,
во время игры.
and obviously they're a lot closer together because the map is so small. So it's if you're ever going to grind money, you want to do it in the smallest place possible. But this is just going to be a couple of minutes of learning to ride a
Кататься
BMX.
на
This is just
BMX,
30 seconds of,
вернее,
hey, mess around and
стоять.
don't fall off. And then the next things are just going to be really basic tricks. There's not really a whole lot to it. So yeah,
Нравится эта мигающая иконка.
Connecting people. For a while.
Right, thank you. We do have a donation coming in by Zonris with $5, saying, "Hello there, English Ben in Sweden from the Abyss." Or is Pizza Disliker a more appropriate name at this point? Winky face.
Pizza Disliker.
Whatever. Just here to wish you good luck on your run during this comfy night shift. Also,
Не
if
любителю
my math is correct,
пиццы
both Harnett and
желают
Tyrion should
удачи.
have the same totals right now for the Octopath Traveler character bid war.
У нас тут только
And
любители
indeed,
пиццы.
with $3 going to Harnett
Желаем
and
неудачи.
$2 going to Tyrion, they are both even at $184. So make sure to keep the donations coming in to decide the category for the Octopath Traveler single story speedrun. We also have a $15 donation.
В общем, да, это по сути, это скейт-парк, локация называется скейт-парк. В скейт-парке мы катаемся на BMX. Если что.
Как будто пицца с ананасом. Приехали в скейт-парк.
Лишь бы оно нравится пицца с ананасами, между прочим.
They basically in the interviews they were asking like, you know, what is your like nuclear take? And they're asking me like, you know, what do you think about pineapple on pizza? You know, it's a classic question.
Другая игра. Мы тут катаемся на байке. Это Том Клэнси, про-байкер.
Извини.
Banana on pizza, which is a big thing here in Sweden. Is you can put whatever you want on a pizza. It's completely up to you. I don't care if you put, you know, pineapple on it, fruit, that's completely fine. Put nuts on pizza that some people do. Some people put like Nutella on pizza, which is
Он начал говорить про Нутеллу, я продрогнул, я что-то замучил его.
But yeah, I'm just not a big fan of pizza in general.
So
I think the pizza is the common denominator there. But yeah, so ultimately at the end of the day, if anyone ever bullies you for, you know, for putting banana on pizza, you know, don't listen to what they have to say because you're already at fault for eating pizza in the first place. So just thought we'd throw out that, you know, PSA out there from English Ben. So this is the last one that we're going to do, flares. This is just as simple as a backflip and a 180 at the same time. And it's because every single one after this is quite a bit longer, so they're not really worth doing. We can just continue and going back to the homeless guy. It's also very important that, well, not important in this particular scenario, but it is important in general that we do the BMX money grinding before we actually enter the skate competition. And that's because if we don't get good homeless guy spawns in a certain run, then we won't have enough money to pay for the ticket into the end jam. So I think it's $150 that we have to pay. So obviously, if you always do the
Так, господа, я не помню вообще никаких обещаний. Мне кажется, никто не давал.
There's currently no room at the inn, essentially. So even though we could buy a ticket, we have to fight this guy because he says that he can skate circles around us. But then he holds a tail grab too long and completely breaks himself. So then, conveniently, we can take his place. And then, yeah, we pay the entrance fee. And here we go. So this competition is super unique. It's the only one of its kind where it actually doesn't matter what you do. So you know how I mentioned before when we were fighting against Joe Skater right at the start of the game? I was mentioning about the fact that it's based on your score, right? So if you get 0 points, everyone else will get 0 points. But that's not actually the case
Как
here.
обычно,
You can get
мы,
like 1 million points and they'll still get like 50,000.
абузим
So it ultimately doesn't matter.
НПЦ.
There's no way you can, you know, make it more difficult or easy for yourself.
Сообщением в
And
чате
all you need
как-то.
to do is just not come last. That's the most important thing.
Как так?
It's, you know,
Никогда такого не было.
round, essentially. So, while we're just waiting around for
Мы все же катаемся на скейтборде, между прочим, в скейт-парке. С BMX у нас, да, как вы уже видите, закончилась процедура.
So, obviously we're going to win this competition. It would be quite embarrassing if we didn't. And Tony Hawk is going to interview us himself, the guy, you know, the real Hawkman himself. And he's going to ask us where we pulled out this big move from that, you know, in terms of canon, we used to beat the competition. Obviously, I'm just kind of messing around and stuff winning, but in terms of the actual game story, we apparently used some awesome move that we learned from some, you know, rogue professional skateboarder. And us being the I guess, ignorant young soul that we are, is we say that we learned it from Iggy Van Zandt, the guy at the skate park. But what we don't know is that Iggy Van Zandt is actually a fugitive who was running from the police, and one of the main reasons why he was, you know, staying out of the limelight was because he, you know, was hunted by the police for some minor offenses. I forget exactly what it is.
В общем, каким-то определенным трюком окажется чуть попозже, что мы определенным трюком выучились от, значит, чувака, который избегает от полиции, потому что, как бы, потому что его хотят арестовать за определенные нарушения, которые он совершил.
А именно учил людей скейтбордингу без лицензии.
So from here, the game kind of transitions into,
Не, ну в принципе, господа, так, всего один человек помнит что-то вообще, так что в принципе никаких проблем нет, я думаю. Думаю, что кто-то верит этому человеку определенно. Так что...
And he's apparently like an old friend of Iggy's, and maybe he can help us. So in order to get into Santa Monica, we need to impress a certain skate club that allows us to gain access. And the skate club is where we mentioned before, where their policy is no shirt, no shoes, basically. So yeah, here you see Iggy's getting arrested by the police. We kind of tried to protest, but there's not really a whole lot we can do about it. So then we need to gain access to Santa Monica. Santa Monica is actually just down here, where these police officers are. But obviously they're blocking it off, and they'll beat us up if we get there. So instead, we go to the skate club, and we need to impress them, and then we'll end up causing like a distraction that'll allow me to get into Santa Monica. It's actually possible to get into Santa Monica and Beverly Hills and East LA, which is like a later on section, way earlier than intended, but unfortunately it doesn't really help because none of the goals spawn once you get in there. So you essentially, like, you know, you can't progress forward. So it's a sequence break, but
Так,
you can't actually go into any further sequences.
вот ты какие-нибудь
So
трюки
if
можешь
anyone out
делать
there just
на
happens to
скейтборде?
be interested in finding like glitches,
Ударить себя
Я не имею в
скейтом
виду
по
кататься
яйцам,
просто. И
it
стоять
would
тоже
be
не
very cool
считается.
to be able to skip all the way into something like ESA
лежать,
from the start of the game and
сидеть.
actually have the
На
goals loading.
скейтборде?
Да.
According
Жесть, у меня не
to, like, you
получается.
know, most people have tried to get it to work. Nobody's ever found anything. So, you know, maybe it could be you. Maybe you could find a way.
Ну да крутой, конечно, крутой.
And Tony Hawk
А
speedrunning
чат
will
вообще кто-нибудь
become
из чата может какие-то трюки
very
на скейтборде
broken,
делать?
especially in terms of American
Ребята,
Wasteland.
господа.
So here we've impressed them. We've learned
Дамы,
Flatland.
господа.
Flatland tricks are very nice because you can spam them to get an awful lot of points very quickly. And the final thing that we need to do is we need to go and cause a bit of a distraction at this hotel. So we just...
В общем, сейчас мы что находимся? Мы на крыше отеля находимся, если что.
Like statues. I'm not sure if that's like intentional, like if that's part of the law, or if they just didn't bother to animate them. I honestly have no idea. But yeah, so we just lip on each thing, and then we do exactly the same thing, but we need to do some,
Ну,
some
собственно,
trick modifications.
зрители,
So
знаешь, зрители у нас еще, не знаю, даже на уровне Тони Хока, как ты видишь, я думаю, посмотри в чат, увидишь. Реально крутые. Мне кажется, даже Тони Хок бы позавидовал.
Ой, ничего себе тут мужиков.
Одинаковых, между прочим.
Ну, они просто
Они просто
однояйцевые
на
близнецы.
скейтбордах катаются, это все приводит к тому, что вы становитесь друг на друга похожи.
Это те самые 12-ряшки. Однояйцевые. Все вышли из одной тропы. И сразу на скейт.
Ну так они на скейте и рождались.
На скейте прода принимали.
Да. Между прочим, чувака, который слева, зовут Джош. Вот вы можете видеть. Джош. Джош неплохо так на скейте умеет. Сейчас, по сути, как битва с боссом происходит. Дэйв, он такой последний босс.
Даже какой-то босс-раш был, наверное, даже. Учитывая то, что много этих мужиков.
And then we'll bust a few sick moves in the last couple of seconds. So, ideally, in Santa Monica, because it's just one long strip of a level, ideally we'll be able to get a lot of money there from the homeless guy, but obviously it all depends on where he spawns. But I will be looking out as much as I can in order to, you know, pick up as many convenient bum locations as possible. So it looks like he's quite far away on the far end, but that's not necessarily a bad thing because it's also close to a lot of
Кстати,
goals
этот
that are going on.
Гидрейшн бот, он умер, да, я так понимаю?
Of the map anyway. So this goal is a very particular, like, don't touch the ground kind of deal, and there's three different challenges.
Умер.
The first one is
нам
pretty
стоит
standard.
жить, пожалуй.
The
Так что
second one
да,
is
пейте воду.
Неплохой ответ, да, я согласен.
Just off that little wooden
Так.
clicker in front of us. And it's not particularly easy to do, but I'll do my best.
Нас что?
It may take a couple of tries. Obviously, it's really easy to set up.
В общем, нужно добраться до крыши вот этого, как-то, театра, не знаю, не касаясь земли под ним. У нас получается отлично. Ну, там, раза с четвертого, но это, в принципе, не так плохо.
Rather than having to go all the way around. And then there is a bunch of kids here who are they've you know got a little sugar rush and they want us to do some cavemans off here.
Погнали.
Again, this
Воруем
is just a
очередную штуку.
building that we're just destroying. This is like the 7th building that we've destroyed.
Да, это 7-е по счету здание, которое мы ломаем.
I don't know how we're getting away with it, but magically we are just wrecking these places. And yeah, we can now take that roof for the ranch. So,
да, крышу мы заберем с собой, если что.
So just up here is Joey. And once again, we're going to do some more destruction. But this is going to be a lot more butt slaps as well. So he wants us to do an impossible down the stairs. And as you can see, usually without a butt slap, you would not be able to make this on sick difficulty. Now we just need to do the same thing 3 times. So what you would expect to do is like go up here and turn around and then jump. And even then, as you can see, you barely get enough on sick difficulty to make it. So butt slapping is much easier, even if you just get a double like that. And then the final one is just a 360 impossible, nice and easy.
Ну-ка, 360.
Так у него не получилось с первого раза.
I need to,
Так, 360
shut my
impossible.
big mouth sometimes is what I need to do. So this completely destroys this entire staircase. And yeah, we can take that for the round 2
Лестница сломана.
Которая,
ну, кстати, между прочим, она даже не сломана, мы ее тоже забираем к себе.
Да, мы не воруем, мы мародерство.
Мы, как это сказать,
экспроприируем для нужд нашего парка.
Сказать слова, знаешь, слова забываются.
Национализируем.
Реквизируем.
Okay.
Во.
Which is obviously an awful lot. And TASes of this game are, well, not particularly of this game, but of other Tony Hawk games are super cool. And you can just like jump from ground level to an entire skyscraper. It's really crazy what you can do. So yeah, that was just a simple, call out the tricks. There was nothing really to it. This goal is a reoccurring goal in later on. I'm not entirely sure
В общем, да, странный момент немного, возможно. Должны мы стрелять в людей, в лысых, между прочим, людей, на... Это, как это сказать? На досках для серфа. Серфинга.
Paying attention when we were in downtown, you'll remember that we only did 2 of Muten's goals and in downtown, and that's exactly the same reason as we did in Hollywood. It's just more convenient to grab him later on when we go back to downtown for the 3rd time. So this is one of the reasons why we wanted to get extra lip trick stats. We'll be holding this lip trick all the way around, and it's very difficult to balance. The meter becomes very sensitive towards the end. As you can see, it's kind of fighting against me now, and I'm only halfway. So it is very important that I,
Кто так не делал, не знает жизни.
It's like 30 seconds to retry every single time, so failing it isn't particularly good. So here you would usually grind all the way around, like around to the left there, but you don't actually have to. You can just keep the combo going and then start halfway.
Очень круто. Сейчас было по веревкам. При веревкам он проскользил очень круто. Так, я чекну. Знаешь, чекну расписание.
I hope they actually fly away, but the way they've programmed it, it very much looks like we're just straight up killing these birds, which is very nasty. But I suppose skateboarders and petty
Там еще птицы сидят и нормальные птицы должны вроде улетать, а эти птицы прям клебем стоят и ждут своей гибели, как самураи.
The best place to do it is just on a bowl, because you can just grind around it infinitely. But obviously sometimes that's not always possible. I'm going to go to this homeless guy, even though it's technically like a detour backwards. He's pretty close, so it's worth going to, I would say. 2,000 points, very simple.
Nice.
And he's in this corner. Okay, this is very good. So this is what I was talking about, where like the Santa Monica spawns, if it goes well, they can be very close to each other. And then we just grind again for 5 seconds. That's fine, we can just do it here. So nice $75 in our pocket, potentially more out of Santa Monica, which is very good. Because the next thing we need to buy is a ticket to the oil rig, which
да, собственно, мы немного фармим сейчас деньги. Почему мы их фармим? Мы их фармим для того, чтобы купить билет на, значит, платформу, на нефтяную платформу.
Мы становимся биг-боссом. Мы становимся биг-боссом.
Да, типа того. Это наша знакомая.
Привет,
you have
Минди.
to bank drop onto this shark, which is very simple. And then you have to
Привет,
stall on its head
Минди.
3 times. But for some odd reason, because obviously this isn't a rail, sometimes when you stall, it will just launch you off, and you have to like run around and root grab onto it every single time.
Надо,
It's,
короче, так
I
у
don't
нас
get why
отталкивать
stalls
по
are
Да.
all things
непонятным
that you have to do
причинам.
on there, but
И мы забираем ее с собой,
So now we've
если что,
completed
эту
all the goals in Santa
голову.
Monica. As you can see, we've
Почему-то
got
хотел
one
сказать
final goal
черепахи,
that we
но на
can get
самом-то
to.
деле, я думаю,
Which
вы
quickly,
поняли, что
oops,
это акула.
quickly get up here. I'll quickly butt slap. That was a nice little butt
Акулья
slap, as you can see.
черепаха.
And
Мгм.
it's Tony Alva. So Tony Alva wants us to, I guess, prove that we're a good skateboarder. So we do some pogo, some handstands, and some butt slides. I guess it's because it's like old school, because that's the whole like situation with Tony Alva and
Сейчас
Iggy,
крутое
is they're
происходило на
like they're all
руках.
about the good old days, and that's why Tony Alva wants us to butt slide here.
Как же я комфортно себя чувствую, когда я на 2 секунды
So,
впереди стрима.
right here, usually, I would quit out of the game
Как же это
and reload it.
приятно,
And
знаешь.
the reason I would do that is because
Не знаю.
it will spawn me back at the top of the
Я
hill.
стрим.
And obviously that's like, you know,
Ну,
basically free fast travel.
это, знаешь,
But the issue is
это
that,
просто
as I said
слово,
before,
которое
this game
просто для
can crash,
связывания других
and
слов.
obviously I don't want to
Зачем
have to
ты
redo this
мне
entire
Клетка
section.
связанная.
So I'm not gonna do any
Это
quit outs
тоже,
unless
кстати.
necessary. There are some later on that are like guaranteed to not crash.
Клеток, связанных
But the
внутри.
ones that potentially
Клеток,
risk a crash,
связанных внутри.
I won't go for. So instead, we'll just do some more hobo, go
У нас
all the
уже
way back,
4
and then we'll
стрим
shut
с
up
бачей.
head it up on ourselves. But right now, we need to go and buy the alien costume. It's in Hollywood. But yeah,
Значит,
we're just
мы
gonna grind a bit
купим
more
еще
money
костюм,
while
если что.
we have him nearby.
Пришельцы, да.
He's some really
Да,
good
в
spawn as well.
Голливуде.
These are pretty much ideal. Invert, that's fine.
А
Just do it here.
и тогда кто первый комментатор?
Rail grab. And
Кто
grab,
первый
grab.
комментатор тогда?
Very nice. Okay, so he's a bit further away
Так,
now,
у
and we
нас
have more than enough
что?
money for this next segment, so
А что
I'm
у
not gonna
нас?
Сейчас
bother
мы
too
поедем в
much
Голливуд,
with
я
grinding
думаю.
out like inconvenient bum goals anymore unless I
Да,
absolutely
вот
have
за
to.
костюмчиком, наверное.
So
Нет?
we'll just head back,
Пришельцы.
Пока что
and
нет.
we'll come back to Mr. Mutin in a second once we grab the alien costume.
Да,
He's
он за
the final
костюмом
one for
едет.
Santa Monica. So Hollywood, we go to the store,
А, ну точно, нам за костюмом в
and we
Голливуд
get
надо.
a nice new outfit change. $150.
Ну-ка,
Not
погнали.
too bad. We're looking pretty good.
Хороший костюм. Мое почтение.
And I forget the exact like law reason why we're doing this, but
Так.
basically we're gonna scare away a
А у
carnival
меня
worker
тема, кто вообще
because
придумал,
he's
что может
very
быть реклама?
what's the word I'm looking for? I don't think superstitious is the right
Да,
У
word.
у нас
He
ESA
believes
какой-то
in aliens,
контракт
basically.
заключен.
And he believes that, you know, aliens
Это
will
Интересно.
take over the
реклама на
world one
канале
day.
Русская.
So we're gonna
Может быть.
prove him right by being a skateboarding
Так,
alien.
да, меня отметили в
And
чате.
also
Жесть.
here, Tony teaches us to create our own
Реклама у
trick,
меня
which is
сейчас.
quite a
Как
nifty little
мне
thing.
увидеть
But I'm
вообще,
just
что
going to do a front
происходит?
side spin, and that's enough for me because, you know, I want the trick to be as short as possible, and I don't want to waste time making it when I could, you know, be.
Окей, каждый раз,
doing
когда я
other
буду
things.
останавливать стрим,
And
у
then
меня
we do
будет
our
реклама,
special
я вас
trick on this
понял.
rail, which apparently
Неважно тогда.
freaks him out.
Это мы, короче, включили
So you see,
партнерку.
there's like a little
Не
no
партнерку, а это.
aliens here.
А
Please no
партнерку нам
aliens.
не включили,
And
кстати.
then we do a couple of trick modifications
Там
on
же,
this lever, and apparently that's enough to make him go
ну, у нас
completely
только этот
insane.
affiliate.
So yeah, I'm not sure why we're tormenting this poor guy. Besides,
Ну, короче,
like,
Twitch
Tony
решил,
Alva finding it
что
funny,
он не даст нам
might simply be
главную,
it.
потому что у
I'm
нас нет
honestly not sure.
affiliate. Мы,
But yeah,
короче,
so now we've
получили
unlocked
affiliate и не
the boat to
получили
oil rig,
главную.
and just a
Вот.
joke
Зато
here, we need to
теперь
grind
Twitch
across
может
the
у нас
Ferris wheel.
крутить
Maybe
рекламу.
honestly the reason might be just so it knocks the Ferris wheel
Красавцы.
over, so you can grind across the boat. But I'm not entirely sure. So yeah, we've paid to go to the oil rig. The reason we
Жесть.
need to go to
Насчет
the oil
главной,
rig is
конечно,
because
обидно.
Tony Alva says that he's got
Еще
like a
как.
contact who works on the oil
Да,
rig,
многие
and
люди
he
не
can
увидят
help us
этот
dig a,
прекрасный
like, a
раунд.
snake run, which is like an
Да,
important integral
кстати,
piece of the park.
это обидно. Вот почему-то последний донат это только от Homeless
What I'm
Guy
gonna
NPC.
do
Где
is as
еще?
soon as
Почему
I
люди... Если что, вот, ребята, кто здесь находится, ну вот вдруг у вас есть желание, не знаю, кого не может быть, но есть в описании канала есть кнопка Donate. День, ну, если вы перейдете, если что, там ничего плохого не находится.
Я надеюсь, там поменяли кнопку Donate со
Там
времен
все в
ГДК.
порядке, я уже давно проверял, там все нормально.
Ладно.
Значит, вы переходите по
мы на
ссылке,
нефтяной вышке.
это донат в ESA, то есть в марафон, который сейчас проходит и который мы комментируем в данный момент. Деньги, которые приходят на этот марафон, они идут в благотворительный фонд Save the Children.
Да, ребята, надо спасать детей, а то они сами себя не спасут.
Да. Еще, кстати, есть вещь там хорошая, крутая, ссылка на наш Twitch. Ой, на наш Twitch вы, в принципе, на Твиче и находитесь, если... Но если вам нужно попасть, как бы вы можете...
Если вы как бы оказались на нашем Твиче и хотите оказаться на нашем Твиче, то нажмите на наш Twitch.
Собственно, вот, в описании есть еще кнопка «Анонсы». Это ссылка на нашу группу ВКонтакте. Вы можете перейти, подписаться. Там новости крутые, хорошие, прикольные.
Ну, там просто важные мероприятия
Да, анонсы.
анонсируют.
Да.
И так, типа,
Плюс
важно.
есть...
Как бы мероприятие не раз в год у нас проводится.
Да. Сейчас еще, к счастью, ESA нормально мы можем рестримить.
И сами тоже проводим.
Да, между прочим, еще собственные мероприятия проводятся. Что я хотел еще продолжить, да, подписывайтесь на группу ВКонтакте, вы можете еще перейти по кнопке записи, там, ну, это очевидно, записи на YouTube-канале. Когда все записи с ESA будут, мы не можем сказать сейчас, пока загружаются записи с ГДК летнего этого года. Ну, также вы, я думаю, можете видеть правила чата, вполне простые. Собственно, вот. Ну да, если вам сложно нажать на кнопку в описании, вы можете написать этот восклицательный знак в ВК. К тому же можете использовать команду восклицательный знак R, это будет расписание. Да, мы находимся тем временем на нефтяной платформе.
And then both of these goals actually put us back at the bottom of the oil rig, even though obviously the next goal that we need to do is at the top. So we can do another save and quit.
Выполняем жесткие трюки. Почему я нажал ретрай? Потому что он не в ту сторону полетел, ему надо попасть вот во вторую такую ячейку, не знаю, яму.
Да, он разобьется иначе.
And it spawns us back at the top, so then we can just go straight to this next goal.
Да, тут он опять ретрай сделал, потому что ему нужно в другое место уже попасть, у него засчиталось все, ему нужно быстрее было сделать так, как он сделал. Да, он утопил себя, потому что чекпоинт в итоге сбрасывается на то, что впереди, поэтому ему быстрее просто утопиться, не повторите дома и как бы возродиться.
And then we'll be heading back towards Santa Monica. And this next section is where we deal with the Black Widows, which is the gang that I was talking about earlier, where they want to, like, you know, teach you how to skateboard and, BMX. And they want to teach you how to graffiti and all that kind of stuff. Before they all let us into the
И дальше у нас будет много всяких учителей.
Да.
Что будем по порядку все учить.
Добираемся до вертолета, между прочим. Чоппа. Который пропадает, как только мы до него добираемся. Да, это очень странный момент, в котором мы просто ныряем в закрытую трубу.
Она была закрытой, теперь уже не такая закрытая после нашего падения.
И возвращаемся обратно на остров.
Открыли шорткат такой.
2000 points, pretty simple. So, yeah. So we need to go to the ranch one more time. Iggy isn't going to get arrested again, and we're not going to get arrested, so it's not to really progress the plot. But there is a goal there where the guy that we helped from the oil rig is going to be back at the ranch.
Да, у нас ну, то есть мы все вещи отправляем на ранчо, короче, к нам. Плюс мужчина, которому мы помогли на нефтяной платформе, он будет еще тоже там, вместе с нашими вещами. Ну, нашими, которые мы забрали из города, вот как и эту лестницу, которая была в том месте, где мы только что находились. Да, в Беверли-Хиллз направляемся на автобусе. Здесь вот в этом месте заспавнился мужчина без определенного места жительства.
This one is slightly unlucky because it's like 20 seconds long, whereas obviously the ones where it's like, you know, hey, get 2,000 points, you can do that in like 2 seconds. So you do gain and lose a lot of time purely by
воздуха у меня мало здесь.
With what the homeless guy gives you.
То у раннера, то сколько воздуха, только в нем времени проводит.
And that's why I think it's particularly fun. I think it's quite fun to deal with something very non-linear like this. But yeah, so we're just going to be heading back to the skate ranch. Nothing particularly interesting going on. The goal is just going to be like spray painting certain parts of a crane.
Да, мы раскрасим, ну, единственное, что мы сейчас будем делать, когда доберемся, мы раскрасим просто некоторые части экрана.
I do have some donations to read.
И у нас тут зачитывать донаты будут.
We have a donation of $10 from Retro
Пока
with no comment,
ничего особо интересного не происходит, помимо того, что мы продолжаем заниматься вандализмом.
With also no comment, with this one going to the bid war of making the player
Ого,
character insane.
нормально прыгнул.
Да, неплохо залез. Ну, собственно, я думаю, возможно, ему было понятно. Он, в общем, упал вниз и умер, потому что он уже задел триггер респавна сверху. Поэтому просто заспавнился на экране.
I would like to see Waluigi for Joe with Saints Row 1. The like the customizable characters that you can make in that game are just absolutely fantastic. So yeah, being able to do Waluigi
В даунтаун
would be
едем
sick.
на машинке.
If you know, if anyone is thinking about what to donate for, I've just made that decision for you. You're welcome. You should donate for Waluigi. Okay, so this is the final downtown tag, and this is the final tag total for all of Mr. Mutin's challenges, which is perfect.
Донаты на Saints Row. Да, точно. Сейчас же собирают, короче, на выбор скинов. Вернее, выбор персонажа в Saints Row первым. И там очень хорошая кастомизация. Поэтому там два варианта, короче, они сделали сейф с Луиджи и сейф с Кен Ривз. И вот там пошла битва.
So what we can do is now I've completed all of Mr. Mutin's challenges. Instead of finishing his piece, we can create our own graphic. And it's not going to look particularly good. I'm not a particularly creative person. And I'm just going to put one of each.
В общем, граффити мы тут сейчас придумываем. Раннер говорит, что не особо креативная персона, креативная личность.
I'm very sorry to those that, you know, take graffitiing and the, you know, the art seriously.
В общем, рандомно так чисто накидал картинок. Извиняется перед, перед теми, кто серьезно принимает этот граффити и искусство. Вот. Да, сделал себе татуху паука за $30, между прочим.
That is a steal, you know. So it means one of two things. One, you got a really good deal.
Ну, кстати, не самая большая цена.
You probably shouldn't be going to this tattoo place. Let's just say that. So, now that we have the tattoo.
Хотя Раннер говорит, что это просто грабеж. $30 за татуировку на груди.
Hector wants us to manual through the cones all the way down.
Не знаю, где Раннер свой. Хотя татуха выглядит так, что это реально грабеж. Я сейчас смотрел на...
as you can see,
Spider-Man.
it is very tricky to make that final section because you've got to balance up and down while also moving left and right in order to, you know,
По-моему, у него все
сложноватый
кости
момент, на самом деле.
сломались одновременно.
And you got to make sure you don't miss any flags. So yeah, this will take a few tries. The other option is to go and grind out stats, but obviously, you know, in theory, this is faster to just do it first try. If you're, you know, a god at this game, which I am unfortunately not. So the plan is to just, you know, do it in as little tries as possible. This one looks good. There we go. So yeah, not so
Пошел Space Wolf.
And then this is the goal where he tells us to go and, you know, come back to me once you've learned how to properly make graffiti tags. And we have, so we can just talk to him right away. And yeah, if any of you guys remember Thug 2, you remember Spat. He's like a somewhat recurring character. And we just need to go around the map and tag 4 different spots. If we're too slow, he will go and like re-tag our spots. But if all goes well, we will one cycle him and not have to re-tag anywhere. So this is number 3. As you can see, we don't actually have to properly spray it.
Да, в общем, мы сейчас просто теги расставляем. Ну, анимация у нас не будет проигрываться до конца. Мы просто нажимаем одну кнопку, у нас начинается анимация, мы можем бежать дальше.
Мы можем.
Можем. И можем кататься на велосипеде, на BMX, если что.
But we ended up doing like 10 or 15, I think, total for money's sake. So,
хотел сказать, что на велосипеде-то я хоть умею кататься, в отличие от скейта, но смотря на то, что делает этот парень, я не умею кататься на велике и вообще не умею.
А я, между прочим, умею кататься на велосипеде, на скейте. Знаешь, велосипедом на скейте.
Скейт-пед.
Типа того.
And then on this final one, you're actually supposed to
Ну,
manual
типа.
through the cones
Ну,
and then
да.
wall punt at the end, but you just don't have to. Like, there you go. You just don't have to do what the goal says you have to do. It's very bizarre.
Да, мы призываем как плотву свой скейт.
Usually this game is very good with checking like specific things that you should be doing, but on that particular goal, they just forgot to put any kind of like,
И он шевелится.
you know, checks for what you would be doing. It's very strange. So I'm going to quickly check how much money I have. I have $255.
$255 сейчас на руках у раннера
the final thing that we need to buy, which is the taco truck,
в игре.
is I think
Ну,
it's
хочешь
300
купить грузовик
from
стака,
memory.
это лучшая покупка за
So,
$250.
that means we need to do 2 different bum goals, and then we'll be good for cash for the rest. And, you know, the chance of us
У нас
finding
есть
2
вот
convenient bum
определенные
goals
задачи,
in the
мы
next 2
должны
segments is pretty high. So we should be good on money,
как,
which is good, because money obviously
ну,
is quite a big
продолжаем
concern
вандализм, собственно.
throughout the entire run. So also the hitboxes on those sprinklers that you need to hit they're absolutely terrible, but they
Надо
thankfully weren't
на,
too bad.
как сказать, на опрыскивателях покататься,
Oops,
короче.
that was an interesting
Да,
little
ну
boost.
хитбокс у них
Apparently
так себе.
grinding Boone's jeans is the
Да,
hardest.
но вы уже это
part of
могли
this.
увидеть, да.
I think I'm ollieing too early. That's why. I did actually practice this earlier, but apparently not enough. There we go. So yeah, Boone is actually trapped in like a little. I'm not sure what you would call
Не
this.
с первого
Like
раза,
a
но у раннера
sewage pipe,
получилось
I guess.
сделать то, что говорит задача.
We need to break through and throw him the skateboard. And this is also tricky to make count, but what you can do is you can stand right next to him and just drop it, and it'll always count. But if you try
Да, собственно, мы 2 раза ударили, чтобы сломать вот эту вот ограду, нужно было 3 раза, 3-й раз считается, ну, то есть, когда мы роняем, просто выкидываем скейт, это считается как за удар, ну, там довольно сложно это сделать, ну, типа, сложновато это сделать, но у него получилось с первого раза.
Оба. Запускаем бомжа.
This is a AAA game, reminder. This is one of the best games of its generation. And that's what they came up with.
Звучало, как запускаем гуся, но...
So, I'm very thankful that cutscene
У
isn't
нас
skippable.
такие вещи вроде не разрешены особенно.
Отпускаем гуся.
It would have been better to just have no cutscene.
У нас разрешены только мини-гуси.
Да.
So these are the final 2 skate ranch pieces that we need to grab in East LA. This sign is the next one, and then there is also a couch, I think it is, that we need to do. But in order to get access to like the couch, we need to like hang off a helicopter and do a bunch of cool tricks. I don't know why. It's very bizarre. But yeah, it's the final one. So it's just up here. Speak to Boone.
Значит,
So we
нужно
got a police
убегать
helicopter.
от
We have to grab onto it,
полиции
and
сейчас.
then we have to bank drop onto a platform, do a bunch of flatland tricks to impress like the
Не спрашивайте в этот момент про
and then
этот момент
apparently
с
that means that
вертолетом.
we can then take the couch, like an old couch that has just been abandoned for the ramp, for the ranch. Also, there, sometimes you can just get dropped onto a point where you're supposed to like bank drop in. But as you can see there, I was mashing to bank drop, but it just didn't let me do it because like the helicopter just didn't drop me
В
in the right
общем, тут
place.
можно упасть прямо
As
на
far as I know, there's not
место.
exactly a lot you can do about that. As you can see, I did it
Да,
the
вот
second
здесь вот
time,
прям на
just nice and easy.
чекпоинт
So here
определенный.
is more trick
Иногда это
modifications.
просто
I'll
не
miss that one 'cause
получается
it kick
из-за
bonus. So
странного, ну вообще
real
странно
kick,
ведет себя в том моменте игра.
kick grab. Also got to keep an eye on my balance. Thankfully, the ones that you do count, so I don't have to like restart from scratch. I can just keep going. Kick grab, grab rail. I think one more that we need to do. Kick grab again. There we go. And yeah, now we can finally bank drop onto the couch. And yeah, that means that we did all that just so we can take a couch. And then we can go back to the ranch. And this is, I would say, the silliest goal in the game.
Отправляемся
For sure.
на ранчо опять.
So this construction worker runs to us, and he doesn't like the fact that we're using his crane. So he's climbing up, and he's, you know, climbing 30 feet in the air. And we're just going to launch
В общем, странный, невероятно странный момент. В общем, работнику вот этому строителю не нравится, что мы используем его кран, поэтому он начинает за него забираться, и нам нужно в него стрелять, чтобы он упал с него. Это футов 30.
It's one thing doing petty theft, but we were an accomplice to terrorism and, you know, property damage, and then we straight up committed like attempted murder.
Конечно, выжил, все в порядке.
And apparently that's still okay. You know, boys will be boys, apparently, according to this game. Yeah, I don't know what they were thinking, but it's all very bizarre. Whoops.
Так.
So now we're just gonna head through one more time, go and see Joey, and then it's on to the pro goal segment, which I would say is probably the hardest segment in the game. It's quite long, and essentially what happens is we want to build up funds for the skate park.
В общем, для скейт-парка у нас нужно определенное количество денег, мы будем сейчас их зарабатывать.
Impress Iggy again to make him like us again. So, yeah, we want to raise money. So we want to make a skate video with all the different pros around town. So in order to impress the pros, we want to obviously, you know, like do tricks for them and impress them and whatnot. And this is the section that I was talking about, where like some of the goals are A, extremely difficult, or B, completely broken.
Да.
So we have 280, so I think
что я хотел поспать, но вот я сейчас вспомнил, что я не подвинул плашку комментаторами, и теперь я, когда я встал, я что-то почувствовал прилив силы, понял, что я уже не смогу заснуть.
Знаешь, и прилив сил — это круто. Прилив сил — это круто.
Да.
Значит, Лос-Анджелес, так, если бы я еще знал, как это все происходит. Так. На восток Лос-Анджелеса мы, значит, направляемся сейчас, мы там. Значит, что нам этот NPC говорит, что Тони Хок что-то закупается где-то рядом.
Надо там затусить, короче.
Да, и этот мужчина в сцене каким-то образом сверху упал. С кем случалось плюс в чат?
Я всегда падаю сверху.
Да.
Потому что гравитация так работает. Снизу никогда не падал.
Противогравитационный, что ли?
We don't have to like necessarily
Ты
fully
мощный.
copy his tricks. Like, as you can see here, he did like a, you know, like a 720 airwalk or something. If I could do a single airwalk, that would be great. I keep tail grabbing by accident. There we go. But yeah, you just have to do an airwalk.
Ну, с кем-то все-таки это случалось. Так.
There we go. That counts.
На мальчики продолжаем фармить, так же как деньги.
Ух ты, настоящий Тони Хоук.
And then from there, it's about
Жесть.
going all the way around the map to
Узнали?
impress like all the locals. On easy,
Тони
you
Хок.
only have to impress like 3 or 4 to unlock the next segment. But obviously, this is sick, so we need to do all of them. And some of them are just outright terrible. Like, I'll take you through them
Там
one by
какие-то
one as we
мемы
go.
были с Тони Хоуком.
But yeah,
Люди
some of them
подходили с ним
are
и
straight luck,
знакомились и
whether they
говорили
work or not,
какие-то
and some
странные
of them
фразы,
like are
типа
like
знаете,
at
что вы
this
похожи
level
на
with
Тони
my
Хоука.
stats on sick difficulty, they are like impossible
Да, я
without
вообще
cheating
очень
them.
похож, да.
But this one is pretty easy. Double blunt sight
Мне
here,
так
flip
как будто
manual,
ходили и
just
говорили,
nice
вы
little
знаете,
tech
что вы
cheating there
похожи
with day
на
one.
крутого комментатора?
And then he is actually the only pro
Я
besides
говорю,
Tony
нет, не
Hawk in
похож.
Domination. So the first place
Я
we're
уже
gonna go to
как
is
бы
the hardest segment,
панчвайн шутки
which is
понял.
Santa Monica. So Bob Burnquist is here, and he wants us to do
Вот.
some kind of lip trick, you know, air
Ну, с
over
кем не
quarter
бывало,
pipes.
как говорится.
And there is one segment right at the end where you have to hold a lip trick through a cutscene where Tony Alva starts like attacking Bob Burnquist with the water cannon, and you end up having to hold the lip trick for like 30 seconds. And obviously, as we talked about earlier, while I was on the Ferris wheel, holding a lip
Между
trick for
прочим,
that
кто не
long is
заметил,
like
тут комментатора у
stupidly
English
hard.
Bana нет, он сам
And
играет
the
и
worst thing is that
разговаривает.
if you fail it right at the end, you have to do the
Там
entire
вся Европа спит.
segment
Один
again,
Бен.
like this
Очник.
entire goal. There's no
Да, кстати,
checkpoints or anything.
на ESA самым
The
крутым
weirdest part
комментатором
is that if
на
you like, if I
официальной
were to press start
трансляции
right now and press
был
retry, it would put me
Купустас,
at
мне
the
кажется.
checkpoint like here.
Ты со мной
But if I
согласен?
actually fail it by failing to do the trick, like by not
Ну,
balancing properly, then you just
я
fail and you
думаю,
have to do the
Кукустас
whole thing
обидится,
again.
если я с тобой не
So
соглашусь.
I'm gonna concentrate the best I
То есть, в
can.
смысле, ну я говорю правду, знаешь, типа я не боюсь того, что меня уволят.
To make it as easy as possible, because obviously it will
Ладно.
lose a lot of time if I
Меня
fail
даже не
this.
могут уволить, я просто так взял, зашел.
I'm also gonna get
Ну,
ready
ты
to
вообще из
put
другого
panic
города.
pause to
Что-нибудь ты
restart if I
сделал.
feel like I'm going to fail. But hopefully I won't. Okay, perfect. So that is the hardest goal out of the way, which is really good.
Так,
Сложнейшую штуку сейчас сделали.
And thankfully we get a nice little break
ну
now.
вообще сложнейшая штука
Because Tony
происходит на
Alva's goal
протяжении
is really
всего
easy.
рана,
He
это
just wants you to
катание
call out
на
tricks.
скейтборде
Sorry, he calls out tricks and we just repeat them. There's really nothing
и
interesting to it.
существование
So,
лысым...
Arco again, you've got the floor if you've got anything that you'd like to say while I just press a few
Так,
buttons here, waiting on a timer.
We do have a $5
да, но зачитывать
anonymous
надо, это сейчас
donation
просто мы
saying,
пока
I'll donate
выполняем...
$5 to Waluigi, but I
Короче,
still love pizza.
что здесь нужно делать?
That's
Нужно
completely
выполнять
fair
трюки,
enough. You know,
которые вам
we
кричит вот
can agree to
персонаж,
disagree
который
on
там
that.
сверху стоит.
That's completely fine. Yeah, thank you very much
А
for
мы
the
их типа
donation.
начинаем
Obviously,
делать,
all the
и там
donations towards this event
считываются
are
как
going to Save
сделанные.
the Children, which is an amazing cause.
Вот
And
какой-то
if you
cancel,
wonder
что
to
ли,
yourself,
анимация идет.
like, how
Типа
far,
того.
like, does my money really
Типа
Мы
go?
их типа очень, очень
It's
низкие.
crazy.
Очень низкие.
If you look up, like, I mean, I don't have exact stats for you, but I can tell you that, like, even if you donate something like $5, like the person just did there, like, that can pay for, like, medicine to save, like, lives. And I'm not talking about, like, a single life. I'm talking several lives. And, like, if you talk about the amount of money that ESA raises when you're talking in the thousands that we all come together and raise, like, that can build entire schools. It can build, like, you know, sources of water for people who need it. So it's really awesome that we
В
can all
общем,
come
Ранер говорит,
together
что круто, что
for
собираются
such an
сейчас
amazing
деньги на
cause.
благотворительность, потому что на все эти, ну,
So
на
yeah,
эти деньги
thank you.
можно
It's
и,
really awesome that so many people are
ну,
here and enjoying the
ну, в общем, на деньги
speedruns,
можно
are
и
able to
там
really,
и
like,
школу
make a
построить,
difference in the
и
world. So,
устроить
one final big
источники
combo that we
воды.
need to do for Tony Alva, nice and simple. And next up, we're going to head to Hollywood, where we're going to see Andrew
Мы
Reynolds
в Голливуд
and
сейчас направляемся.
Rodney Mullen, who is a
Кто,
fan favorite. Rodney Mullen is going to
кто не
teach us how
понял, может кто-то понял,
to
кто
make
был в
our own
этих
manual
местах,
trick.
возможно.
And we're going to once again do exactly the same as we did with the grind with Tony Alva, where we're just going to make it a spin and that's it, because we're very boring, but you know, it's all about going fast here. But first we want to meet Andrew Reynolds. And he wants us to head over to Bronson to follow him, take his line. And then we see a cameraman there, and he wants us to do a trick out of like I'm not exactly sure what it's called, but it's like a cave transition
В общем,
on my right.
Если мы двигаемся
And
по
it will
пути,
blow
вот
up
по
the
которому
Hollywood sign if we do it with
парень
getting 50,000
сам проехал,
points. Or it won't blow up the sign, sorry, I think it is just like
значит, 50, мы
pyrotechnics.
должны
But yeah,
комбо,
so here
короче,
we can
набрать на
just
50
use
тысяч,
Flatland to get points very quickly, and then we can just launch ourselves out.
направляясь в
does blow up the
пещеру, и
sign.
в
Yeah, I
итоге
thought it
мы
did. Yeah, we
разрушаем
are still
весь
a criminal.
Голливуд,
Just good to know.
жесткий
We just
вандализм
destroyed the
продолжаем
Hollywood sign for no
выполнять.
reason, besides looking cool, I
Видно,
suppose.
Голливуд отправляется к нам на
That's
ранчо,
Andrew
как и
Reynolds'
все,
goal out the
что мы
way.
забрали с
And
этого
here is Rodney
города.
Mullen. And so for Rodney Mullen's goal, we need to do 10 different unique tricks down these stairs. But as you can see, every single time we spawn at the top, there is a thing where we can create a trick.
В общем, да, здесь нужно сделать 10 триков, трюков. Очень странный момент в том заключается, то, что мы каждый раз, когда спавнимся на том месте, у нас все равно засчитываются предыдущие, когда мы респавнимся, и так что мы можем просто постоянно делать разные трюки в одном и том же месте.
So I don't know why they did that, but yeah. So now we just need to do our new trick 3 times
Да,
to impress Rodney Mullen.
крутой
Here
новый
it
трюк
is.
мы должны сделать 3
Thank you,
раза,
Rodney.
чтобы
I know it's
впечатлить
very
вот этого
cool. I'm sure you would be proud of me.
молодого человека.
So that's the 2 pros in Hollywood sorted. Now we're gonna go to downtown.
В даунтауне нам нужно сделать
And there are
будет...
3 in downtown, but we're gonna come to those later.
Так, что нам нужно
Instead, we're
сделать?
gonna go to the Am-Jam, where Ryan Sheckler and Matt Hoffman are waiting for us. So yeah, of course, the game has BMXs in it. So
Бен исчез. Очень страшно. Все, он вернулся. Ура.
He wants us to knock
Слава
loose
богу,
a
вернулся
jeep
он.
that is suspended above above the park. I have no idea why he wants it or why he can't just go and get it down himself, but apparently he needs me to not spin on top of the screw in order to get it
У нас
loose.
продолжается ужасный вандализм.
I really don't understand, but sure, Ryan, if you'll be in my video, I'll do anything for you, buddy. So yeah, we just head to it, not a spin, don't fall off. There we go. You just undo the bolt and here you go. He's a free
Да, мы
car,
спустили
Ryan.
машину вниз, в общем, нас
I
попросили это сделать, потому что машина нужна, видимо, парняги.
And you can tell on Matt Hoffman's goal how much they really cared about Matt Hoffman here. So this entire part is unskippable. You know, I'm pressured to skip it, not exactly.
Да, значит, вот здесь Мэтт Хоффман, вроде какой-то крутой трюкач на BMX, я так понимаю. Здесь, в отличие от других катсцен, эту катсцену нельзя пропустить. В общем, они, видимо, очень сильно беспокоились насчет него. Так что да.
Ratio, as the kids would say on Twitter. So, yeah. I don't know why they did Matt Hoffman so dirty like that, but we do get to do some cool tricks, and then we also get to do tricks over him while he's on a skateboard and we're on a bike.
Да, здесь нужны трюки делать 5 разных трюков, пока, ну, то есть над Мэттом, пока он катается на скейте.
Mike V, he's going to want us to do a bunch of more complicated tricks, you know, triple kick flips, impossibles and whatnot, but it's nice and easy. And the other one is the other 2, sorry, is P-Rod, who wants us to collect some of those shoe boxes for his company, because of course, you know, P-Rod and shoes. And the other one is Tony T, and Tony T is, I would say, the worst goal in the game. It's not the hardest, but I would say it's the most nonsense, because it's a very long goal. It's, you know, a couple of minutes long, and right at the end, you can fail for no reason. Like, you have to do 4 sets of big spine transfers and land them all in one combo. Even if you land them all in one combo, then you can just fail anyway. It's really silly. So, yeah, I don't really get it. So we need to go and see Mike V. What I'm actually going to do
вообще, кто остался здесь до сих пор? Кто с самого начала рано сидит? Объяснитесь, расскажите мне. Вы здесь вообще?
He was in quite a good location. I'm going to do his goal just in
Я же
case
вас не
it is
сомневаюсь, но
400
мне
for
все
the
равно
final thing that
интересно.
I need. It's better to be safe now than have to go and
Я
grind
вас
money
удивлю,
later.
например, я сижу сначала рано. Как бы, видите, вы не единственные, ребята.
Which is a good spawn because it's right next to Mike V. So yeah, we'll just do them while they're on the way. So just nailing some grabs. Japan.
Так, значит, 6 грэб-триков надо сделать, ну, то есть это трюки с захватом скейтборда в воздухе, как бы.
So yeah.
Как вы видите, здесь мы
So
можем
Mike V is
скипать
actually quite
катсцены,
hostile
как и в
towards
других
us, but as
местах.
soon
Вот
as we
там
mention
момент
about
с
Green
мэтом.
Pipe's point,
Мы
which is the
почему
skate
момент с
wrench as we
мэтом
know it
и BMX мы
in the
почему-то не
current
могли
time,
скипать. Ну
then
да,
he'll agree to join
видимо,
us.
очень сильно
As long as we
беспокоились,
do
и
some
очень
tricks that
круто
are completely
им было
humanly
бы, чтобы
impossible,
люди
such as
смотрели
a
на,
triple impossible.
на
Absolutely
мэта.
not doable by any human being, but we can because we're the best. So triple kickflip and triple heel flip too. And that's enough for him to be impressed. And I would be impressed too. If somebody did something that was humanly impossible right in front of me, I would be pretty impressed. Yeah, we've got some skills. Damn right, Mike V, we do have some skills. All right, so, oh, the one is actually, it's not next to Tony T, this guy. He's actually up on this roof. That's fine, we can just go to him now. If I can get over there. There we go.
Так.
9,000 points.
Да, в общем, да, продолжаем
Nice and simple.
задание
Just do it here.
бездомного выполнять. 9000
There
поинтов
we
вот
go.
тут мы
Now we have
заработали вот одним
400,
таким
so
трюком,
I
если что.
definitely know that it's not more than 400 that we have to spend. So I will look a little silly if it was 300, but I have a feeling it's 400. So now we're completely covered. Okay. So this doesn't have to be in one combo or anything. It's just one long line to pick up all the skate boxes, the shoe spots even. So on easy and normal, you only have to collect, I think, 30 and 40. But on this, you have to collect 50, and there are 50 total. So it's basically just grabbing them all. But the line is super linear. It's very easy to follow, so don't need to worry too much about it. It's all just about, balance and memorizing where to go. Go up here.
Вот этих
grind
штук
all
надо
the way
забрать
along,
на
and then
easy
once you
на
get to the
нормале
end,
где-то
that'll be
30
down
вроде
there.
как. Ну, где-то 30
Hop
штук
across as the final
на
three.
нашей,
There we go.
ну, на нашей сложности, то есть сика надо
And
собрать
now it's
50.
time for Tony
Как я
T's pro
говорил,
goal.
на,
So,
ну, на сложности сик
best
у
of luck to
нас
me, I suppose.
все статы персонажа
So,
на очень
the
низком,
first
то есть
thing
мы
that we
вначале
do
вообще не умели
is
кататься
we
на
do
скейтборде.
like
К
some
тому
tricks
же
over
все
this
вещи, которые
little
надо
gap
покупать,
while he takes
они
pictures of us.
дороже.
We have to do a melon, then a nose grab, and then a tail grab. As you can see, these are very simple, but they're very slow. And then the final section is where we have to do the 4 big spines. And again, exactly the same thing, where if I were to press start now and retry the goal, it would just make me do the tail grab again. So it would give me a checkpoint. But if we fail any of these, it just kills the entire mission and you have to start again from scratch. So let's hope that this goal doesn't fail. Otherwise, I'll lose a good 90 seconds or so every time it does.
В общем, здесь, если у него не получится все сделать с первого раза, у него сбросится на начало вся миссия. Это будет где-то 90 секунд потеряно.
And it'll fail here. Okay, it didn't. Perfect.
Да, все отлично.
So we got through it. We won the coin flip, which is very good. And then Tony T beats us up for some reason.
Да,
I have no idea why.
что-то очень странное происходит,
And he
непонятно
sits
почему.
there in
Никто не
silence.
знает,
Thank
даже
you,
раннер
Tony
не
T.
знает, я
But
тоже
he's on
не
the
знаю.
team, and that's all that matters. Okay.
Дака точно не
So,
знает.
final place is, I believe we have everything cleared out, so we can just go to East LA. And the one, technically penultimate pro goal, but the only one that we can do right now is
И да, как только что вы могли увидеть, мы можем кататься по... Как это называется-то? Как это называется? Слушайте, слова вообще что-то из головы улетают. По эскалатору, во. На скейте мы можем кататься по эскалатору, но не пробуйте лучше это в реальной жизни, и дома тоже не пробуйте, если у вас есть эскалатор дома.
So here it's just a simple nollie on the gap roof, but we need to A, get special, do a super late nollie, and also bone nollie to even have a chance of making it. On this one, we hop up an extra ledge, which usually you wouldn't do. This one is the only one that you do normally, just a simple combo. And then this one, again, we jump as late as possible. That won't even work, because I was too far to the left.
Да здесь нужно как можно позже прыгнуть. Но почему он сейчас без сбрасывает? Потому что он слишком влево так уходит. Ага, очень сейчас громко было, и кому было громко, извиняюсь, у меня некоторые вещи упали. Собственно, у него что-то с первого раза не получилось, уже с какого третий раз. Да, здесь нужно как можно ниже спрыгнуть, потому что, чтобы как можно быстрее добраться до того трамплина. Так, что-то у него не получается.
Got the hard one out of the way. There we go. So bone dollies get you like a bit more distance. So they're actually quite useful. One of the rare things that they implement into this game that is actually useful. And then the final pro goal that you unlock once you've done all the other ones is BAM. And this pro goal is very silly. So, backside tail slide, not a problem. And he wants you to do a flip over him. Cool.
Так,
But then the final section, he has a bet with a homeless man.
здесь,
And
в
the
общем, вот
bet
этот
is that I
парень
can't stall on this shopping cart and go all the way down.
спорит с бездомным о
And
том, что у нас не
if BAM
получится
wins, which he's
или
going to because I'm going
получится
to do it,
прокатиться вот
he
так
gets
вот
to
на
fart in this
тележке.
homeless man's face.
А у нас, конечно, получается. И бездомный проигрывает.
That's the entire cutscene. There's no audio.
Вся вот
It's
эта
just
катсцена,
really
которая была,
weird
в
and
ней, не
awkward.
удивляйтесь, в ней нету
Okay, so let's
аудио.
see how much it was. Okay, it was 400, so I actually have perfectly enough
Нам
money.
дали, сколько нам дали?
And I didn't look silly,
$400, здесь
so
нам
that's
$400
perfect. So that's the
надо
last thing we
потратить.
need money for. We don't need to worry about the
Больше нам
homeless guy
деньги не
anymore.
нужны
He
будут,
can
если
keep his
что.
money. We are all good to go because this is the final segment of the game, the casino.
В казино мы отправляемся, если что.
So,
У нас
the
последний
casino is the other
сегмент
segment
игры.
alongside the oil rig that I mentioned earlier, where, as far as I know, I've never crashed when quitting out here. So we can do a nice little route. As you can see, there are a lot of goals in a very short, in a very tiny space. But first,
Здесь
we're gonna
много
go see
таких вот
Murphy.
персонажей, которые стоят,
He
это
wants
все
us to do
определенные
some
задачи, которые нам надо
trick
выполнить. Они
modifications here.
короткие, они близко находятся,
The
поэтому
guy
мы
with
их
the
довольно
BMX is
быстро
also just
сделаем.
staring at us. It's a bit making me a bit uneven. Hey, bud.
Ну, по сравнению с
waved to us,
тем,
that's
что
quite nice.
происходило на
Okay, you're still
на
waving at
протяжении
me.
всего предыдущего рана.
Definitely not creepy.
Так.
Oh, sorry, that I almost crushed him as well. And then we just grind around this a few times, and that's all good. And then the Zen Master from downtown is actually going to make a return here. I'm not exactly sure why, but he teaches us how to give special energy to other people. So Boone is like struggling to do tricks or something, and the Zen Master teaches me how to transfer my special to him. And
Да, вот этот парень,
this,
у него
you know,
сложность с
is
трюками
a very silly
какая-то, и нас,
goal, and you're just
нас
sat here
учат,
waiting around for a
как
minute.
ему передать свою
But,
возможность трюков.
obviously, like, you can go anywhere you want, and the goal doesn't reset your position, so wherever you end the goal is where you will be, like, after it. So what we can do is we can go to the least convenient place to get to that has a goal and not lose any time, because obviously we're on a timer here anyway, and there's nothing we can do to speed it up. So we're just waiting for 25 more seconds, and as long as we don't let the power meter go down, then we're good. So we'll just give him enough here, and then we can head through the elevator here to Iggy, and we're just gonna wait. So
Так.
gives me an opportunity to rest my voice for a second. Been speaking quite a lot.
Do we have time for a donation?
Нужно здесь подождать
We
некоторое
have
время. Тут
$5
Игги
coming in from
стоит.
RUSC saying, I'm going to save multiple lives of children. And believe it or not, you actually are. And this donation is going to the Saints Row character selection.
Опять же странный
Not
момент
really
с этим
selection, but what the character will
швырянием
look like of
шаров с
Waluigi.
водой.
Yes, Waluigi. That is what we like to see. Yeah, thanks very much. So here we're going to quit out because we've gone to the least convenient place, and we need to go back to the most convenient place, which is right
Мы
here.
выходим, потому что нам
This is a really tricky goal to do fast.
дольше добраться вот до того
There are
места, куда нам
55
надо, где
chips
мы
that are
как раз
scattered
сейчас
all around the
заспавнились,
casino, on the rafters
просто
and everything. And if you
на
fall down from the rafters,
гейте,
there's no
чем
real
выйти
easy
из
way to get
игры.
back up. So
То есть
I'm gonna
быстрее, короче, выйти
play
из
nice
игры
and
просто
safe and just run across them
и
if
вернуться
I can.
обратно. 55 нам надо фишек собрать.
Yeah, so very excited for that, for Waluigi to win, and I'm glad I can influence people to to donate towards it as well. That's going to be great. I do hope it wins. So we grab all the ones on the Raptors, and the other sections are
Ого,
all,
не задел.
they're all in the little pool area, which is just through here. So there's one up top, and as you can see, like all of the other goals end in the pool area, which is perfect because this is where we're going to be for the rest of it. Because this goal also ends here. Well, it ends wherever you grab the last
Да,
chip, of
так,
course.
все
But,
забрал.
we're going to make sure that we grab it in the pool side because it makes sense. So we grab all the ones here, grab the ones here. There's one on this corner, and then it's just grinding all the way around to grab the last couple. And then we are right where Iggy is here. And these last final goals are very simple. This one is just
Приближаемся, мы приближаемся к концу. Ну, тут я уже говорил, здесь довольно легкие, быстрые такие.
Iggy again. And this one, all we need to do is acid drop from this diving board, big spine transfer over, air out and stall on this rail. There we go. And then this final one in Casino can be quite tricky if you don't know what you're doing. But you need to vert wall plant just as you're about to touch the speaker. And the final one is the tail, which is just the same, but it's the opposite. So we're hitting it downwards as we go down.
Здесь сложность будет только если вы вообще не знаете, что делать.
So, one final goal before we end up here. And one little clip out of bounds.
Да, и вы ждали, я думаю, вот этого хотя бы хоть раз, вот здесь вот один раз происходит момент, когда мы в out of bounds уходим, клипуемся. Да, здесь мы так пробрались, короче, в некоторые места в казино, которые нам не надо было, и поэтому мы сбегаем от полиции. Да, здесь вот момент, когда происходит, очень неприкольный, то, что фонарь, ну, вот этот вот свет, вот чоппера, от вертолета может просто вот зацепиться за нас и не уходить, что очень плохо. Ну, это вообще, да, это очень странная тема. Чего не должно быть. Вот все, теперь нет, зря зацепился. Хотя все равно. Ну, то есть, если он вначале прямо за нас хватается, то это очень плохо. Поэтому он и перезапускал. Это очень странный момент, который, да, сломан невероятно.
Ultimately, at the end of the day, it is what it is. It's this game is one of the weaker Tony Hawk games, I would definitely say, but it still has like a place in my heart. So I'll try and slap up here.
Так.
Run up.
Почти, да, получилось.
Thankfully, just get out of the way. There we go. Just out of the way, the spotlight. And as you can see,
опять же, вот этот момент со светом от вертолета очень неприятный, как раз я уже говорил, в том плане, что он просто может, как только мы появляемся на открытом месте, просто сразу за нас зацепиться, от него никак не сбежать.
Yeah, like you can see, it struggles a lot to find me for some odd reason. And this final section, you can also get trolled quite a lot. Because there are cops that are standing on ground level, but their hitbox extends all the way up, like infinitely.
Да, собственно,
so you can grind along like these little wires
момент тут будет с полицейскими очень странный, потому что хитбоксы у них ну, типа, вроде нормальный, да, но на самом деле у них хитбоксы прям вверх направлены бесконечно. То есть... Скоро будет время скоро будет, ребята, подготовьте пипи хайп, там что-нибудь еще, что у вас есть. Время. Все. Час 35 минут 30 секунд, эстимейт был час 40 минут, в мировой рекорд у нас так какой-то, не помню. Но по сути клапа, ребята, клапа, пипи хайп, вообще что можете, ну или хотя бы фрог волк и клэп, тоже можно, тоже пойдет, я не против, так уж и быть, не буду ничего делать плохого, можно просто клэп тоже. Да, час 35-30 секунд, раннеру понравилось, в принципе, что у него такое время. Это не ПБшка. Поздравляю English Бена, поздравляю вас с тем, что вы крутые ребята, потому что вы здесь, потому что вы находитесь на этом канале. Скажу еще раз, потому что канал RUSC, который проводит официальные русскоязычные стримы, ГДК и ESA, ESA европейский спидран-марафон. Мы официально, да, проводим все это. На этом марафоне, на других спидран-марафонах, таких же благотворительных, как этот, деньги собираются в разные фонды. В данный момент фонд Save the Children. Так, спасибо English Бену. Очень круто было, интересно. Спасибо Дакадаку, что со мной был. Спасибо мне, что я был с собой. Спасибо вам, что были с нами.
Thank you. Are you reading for any more runs, Arco, after this, or are you done with your shift?
There is one more run. Next up, we have Backyard Skateboarding, ran by Hayetsburg.
Perfect. All right, great stuff. Yeah, thank you again, Arco.
Что у нас будет следующее? Следующее у нас будет Backyard Skateboarding.
See you later. Stay tuned for Backyard Skateboarding.
Have you checked out speedrunstore.com yet? 100% of the proceeds during ESA